This is us being live. We're live.
What?
Hello.
Wait a second.
We're live.
We're live?
We're live. We're
Are-
live on the internets.
Live on the internet.
Are you all out there?
Hello? Are you guys
Um,
out there?
Can
There's
anybody
some
hear?
folks out
Can
there.
anybody? Can anybody hear me? That's a John Locke line. He goes, "Can anybody hear me?" Sometimes
Never
when
ends.
Terry
Never
O'Quinn
ends.
screams out the word "me," it sounds like May. It's gonna be May. Kind of what he does.
That's my favorite. Your line reads of their weird line reads is one of my favorite things about
Yeah,
the
I
whole
think
like
that there's
journey
probably
back
no
to
bigger
Musk.
fan of Coming Out than Rich Filiberto.
No, I love
I think
coming
you're-
out.
you're
And
the-
like it's really funny because it's like one of those things that stuck with me the very first time, right?
Yeah.
Like I could go back to like 10 years ago watching it for the first time. Coming out.
Yeah.
It's like yeah.
I'm
I'm on it.
I'm flagging all the people.
Oh yeah, flag.
Got it. We're set. We've got that. Let's see who's going to show up. And they'll just show up.
They will just show up. Pia's in the chat.
I'm about to say, if
Bugbear
he is
is
not in
here.
the chat.
Pia in the
Yeah.
chat.
Yep, Pia in the chat.
Pia in
has
the
made
chat,
it.
the white mage supreme of Eorzea right now. I got to catch up to Pia. I really thought that of the people who started, I would get there first. I'm
I
impressed.
did too.
Yeah.
I felt like you were in pretty deep. I'm loving this whole Final Fantasy trend, but we were talking about it this afternoon that like this is way beyond expectations. I never anticipated that like so many of you would go so deep.
Well, so if I can take a moment to like speak to the crowd
Please.
that's like, I don't know, you guys are so far, I'll never catch up. First of all, like you do it at your own pace and it's totally fine, but really like the thing to play for is to get like just far enough that you have like airship access so you can go from town to town so that you can come and vacation with us in the video game. We've
Yep.
gone around on vacations, dance parties, we're gonna play hide and seek. Like we're totally hacking Final Fantasy 14, and I think there's gonna be some real sweet spot stuff coming from that, and all of that stuff is achievable for sure. Hide and seek is gonna be achievable almost at any level anyway. We can just like stick to like one landscape. The dance parties are accessible for literally everybody as well. It's gonna be amazing. We had Kevin, did you know that we had that Rich and I and a bunch of other people went on a beach vacation in Final Fantasy 14 a couple nights ago?
I did
I
not
showed
know
up.
that. I
We
popped
had to
into
play
like
the
the
Scorpion
chat.
at one point, and we were all like, do we have to? Do we really want to go over there and fight the Scorpion? Like, we're having so much
go
fun.
to the beach.
Yeah, we're just like doing cannonballs and stuff. It was great.
This is some of my favorite things about like video game RPGs, right? Because like you get quests in Skyrim, you get quests in like Zelda, and like you kind of go at your own pace sometimes. And I love the idea of just like there's a monster ravaging this town, and you're just like, I'm gonna go fishing for a while though. I need
Yep.
to grind
Yep.
that out, and it's just
Yep.
so wacky to me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's been great. It's been really, really, really fun. It far exceeded my expectations as well.
It's great. And like the single player experience is pretty good, Josh, right?
It's
You've been playing
really
a lot
good.
on your own.
It's
yeah.
really good. I'm really enjoying. I'm loving the story. The story is so much better than I thought. It took me a minute to like get into it.
Yep.
Because like the jargon is so complicated. I keep being like,
It's
why aren't you calling it Glarendar? Like I have to like make that leap. It's like I can't live in two fantasy worlds at the same time.
I love your head went to Glarendar. I mean, I guess it is like more fantasy. It's not like Midgar, right? You're not like
Oh
not
God,
industrialized city.
no. 14 is like medievalish fantasy adjacent with like the Final Fantasy bells and whistles, like floating crystals and like crystal powered like technology.
And there's like weird Magitech stuff happening, right? Guns and machines and all this. But yeah.
The thing that I cannot stress enough is that this game, like as like a Final Fantasy fan, is incredible. Like it is drawing severe elements of like all of the classic Final Fantasies. Like from the very first one, there's lots of like the Red Mage design, like the actual like when you do unlock the Red Mage job, that guy looks
It's
like
spot on.
he looks like the Red Mage from the very first game. Like with the
Spot
white
on.
hair, like the hat, like he's amazing. But like there's like Final Fantasy VI inspiration, which took me a minute to connect. Where it's like, oh, that's like straight up FF6. There's the Gunblades from FF8. There's like
Is
the
there
design
Vivi?
of like
is Vivi around? Is the big question.
there's like VV merchandise basically. Yeah. You know, you could have like little black mages that follow you around that look exactly like Vivi.
I did see in the character creation that you can be the same race that Fran is from Final Fantasy 12, and I thought that's awesome because
that's me.
Yeah,
Fran
that's
is one of my one thing in Final Fantasy 12 I liked. Yeah, I had a lot of issues with 12, but like I liked that character and that like idea, right, of that like society and world. So that part was cool. So
there's
it's cool to see them
there's
that.
the judges, if you remember them from FF12, like a lot of like the design elements of them have been lifted. There's a materia system. There's the gold saucer. There's triple triad. So like it is like it's borrowing from every single Final Fantasy game, and then like inventing some of its own stuff.
At the flying saucer, that's what it's about.
It's like golden saucer. It's like it's inventing like a bunch of its own stuff too, which like that was the stuff that was like hard for me to like accept into my heart. Because like who are you, new guy on the street trying to be a Final Fantasy? And then like it's like so lovingly paying homage to so many of the things that like I finally was like, all right, let me give you a chance. And once I did, I was like, wait, that guy is blank, spoiler alert. Like just like a couple of like twists that have happened. I'd be like, it's been great. It's been super fun. Anyway, this is not about Final Fantasy, but we
not to
what are we doing here? I forget.
We're like filibustering as we're seeing who might show up to join us this evening.
I live for the filibuster, and I won't like hammer the horse to death. But it's a really amazing game.
By the way, Rich, is probably like a Twitch stream that you could just like very simply add on to your rotation, where you just hop on DM Philly. It's called Filibuster, and you just talk for like at least an hour on like a Thursday morning.
Yep.
Coffee with Philly.
I feel like it's coming. I'm pretty close. My homie Taylor over here, I keep talking to her about the Wheel of Time. She's like cracking through it, like reading along, and I feel like there's some good mileage there. I'm dying to talk about the Wheel of Time, as Josh knows. I got a lot to say. Yeah.
I said it on the Ask Wiggler Anything a few weeks ago.
I heard. I was honored.
There's no Wheel of Time coverage on post show recaps without Rich being involved. So
I'm like so excited about that. I could talk about it. Yeah, I know. I think it will be. Rafe's like very precious about it. So, and the Survivor connection is like too weird to not make note of. You know? So,
I know. Yeah. Do you know about that, Kevin?
The Survivor connection? No.
Do you remember Rafe from Survivor?
Survivor Guatemala, third place runner-up.
Yeah.
He's the one who like he lost immunity, and then like he'd had this deal with Danny Boatwright, and he tells her like, you don't have to take me to the finals, and so she's like, cool.
Okay.
So she votes him out. He then like left Survivor, like never wanted to talk about it ever again, and then embarked on like a very successful career in Hollywood as a writer. He wrote for Chuck. He wrote for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And he's not just writing for the Wheel of Time. He is the showrunner.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good journey for him. That's very Judd Winnick, right? Like Judd Winnick started off with like Real World, and now was like, don't talk to me about Real World, and he now has a successful comics career. He's just like, I do that world now. I do comics, I do TV.
Probably not as iconic in our specific space, but like Judd Winnick at a time was like very
big.
Iconic.
Yeah. Ubiquitous. I'm excited about it. I'm very excited about it, and I will keep that Filibuster in the tank. I feel like that's a good one, Josh. You've given me a couple of good ones. Cool. But we're here because we're going to play Dungeons & Dragons.
Yeah. So we're going to do a live Dungeons & Dragons in Discord episode.
Which is the thing I understand that we do on this PSR
Kevin,
network.
Who doesn't listen to podcasts on post-show recaps, was like, I want to be on the podcast. I have an idea. Like, oh, well, okay. Do you want to listen to a couple to be prepared? He's like, no, that would tarnish my brand.
I did say that. That is accurate.
Are you going to listen to the 24-minute 24 recaps? That's like low lifting. And it's me and Emily. It's your friends.
Yeah, I mean, like, the Emily would be the reason to listen to it. Because I've talked to you about 24. It's just I would listen to you.
I don't take offense to that. I think it's correct. I was listening to some of the one that's coming up on Monday. She just does lots of like throwing grenades is her role in the podcast, and it's very, very good.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's really funny. But no, Kevin, you had like reached out. You're like, I've got an idea that I think would be fun for the podcast. And so Rich and I like we hadn't done one in a minute, so we're like, yes, this is a great next idea. I think timeline wise, this is taking place before whatever shenanigans are currently afoot in Thay. right? For the time variance
Yes,
authority
for anybody
purposes.
out there who's listening to this in like the current time-space continuum,
Yeah.
while Arnold is on a mission in Thay with his allies as we speak,
As we speak.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
this, in fact, as the episode opens, we would see the title card, of like 10 days ago. Uh,
Right.
Yeah,
This is going to take place before, so we should be fine continuity wise. And Arnold's been pretty quiet for like the last like 2 weeks or so, anyway. So like it fits with his current story. And when last we saw Rin, you and a bunch of other people were almost getting killed by what was that thing that you unleashed upon them, Rich?
oh, that
Oh, the
I
giant
unleashed upon
snake
them?
creature thing. That
Yeah. It was
Happy
exciting.
birthday,
Yeah.
Todd.
Yeah.
It was a spirit naga, is what
Uh-huh.
it was. There was a spirit naga, and said spirit naga cast blight on Small Rin, which was 88 points of necrotic damage that I believe I rolled 34.
Yep.
And,
It would have knocked me down immediately.
And Obsidian Weird of the Discordant Cage clan, you can call him Weird, counterspelled.
Yeah.
God.
Upon which I immediately followed up with a lightning bolt that did 86 points of damage and rolled 32. And Obsidian
Also
Weird
put me
was
down.
like, you know what? I will counterspell that as well. And
Yeah.
So Weird, like saving lives out there in Glarendar,
Yes.
Especially Kevin's.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank,
So-
thank God for Weird. That was a very scary moment.
Yeah.
Then you proceeded to dominate Weird, dominate
Yep.
mind on him, and thankfully
I did do that. Yep.
Grayson slapped him back into consciousness, which
Yeah.
was fantastic.
Yep, I think that Spirit Naga at that point was like, well, you are the most powerful of this group, so turn and kill your friends.
Yeah.
And I believe Todd was horrified at that moment, but it worked out. It all
Yeah.
worked out fine in the end.
Yeah, I was like laid up on my couch playing Final Fantasy 14 and like watching, like listening on the phone and like reading the chat especially, and just seeing a bunch of like, there were like two different occasions. I think it was for the counterspell too, and then for this where it was just like Todd. Like one was like yes,
Yep.
Todd, and one was like
Yes.
Todd. So that was as a bystander who was supposed to be there. It was wild to follow along with.
Todd is
Very different experience living it, but yes.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
Todd's a legend, right? He's somebody who'd like played some D&D before we started up here in the Discord, but I know has said that this is like the environment where he's most been able to like flourish as a D&D player.
Yeah.
The man is a prolific writer, and he writes some incredible stuff recounting just the lore of his character, but the adventures that we go on together. And then obviously like the primary writer for the musical, right? Like Todd's incredible, and seeing people like him get to tap into all of that and flourish
So
in this
fun.
space, it just gives me like eternal joy, man. Like that, it's so deeply rewarding for that. But Todd's a legend, man. Like he's a like. I don't know. We affectionately have like said more than once that he's like the beating heart of the community in Glarendar in more ways than one.
Yeah.
He brings such great energy to everybody, and it's such a joy to have
Totally
him
agree.
there.
Completely. But yeah, so there's maybe like some time wonkiness to address here as far
Timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly.
as
Yeah.
far
yeah.
as when is this taking place? So this is before whatever fate awaits Arnold and the rest in the Thay. This is taking place before then. So I assume this is taking place. I don't know how long before the Warden's moot that just happened.
Yep. It would have been probably like a 10-day ago, realistically, like right after Rin and their allies returned from dealing with said Spirit Naga, but before the Warden's moot or Arnold leaves, right?
Yes.
Cool. So yeah, you guys ready for it? You feeling excited? You prepared for some
I'm-
dice rolling?
I'm pretty hyped. I'm hyped to like. I'm hyped for people to check this one out. I think this is gonna be fun.
I'm
I think it's gonna
both
be cool.
excited and nervous to use the Roll20 rolling system because I haven't done it before. I normally use my own dice, and I am notoriously bad with computer dice. So we'll see how this works out.
It's gonna be great.
Maybe Roll20 will bless you.
It's possible.
Let's see.
Until you just said that.
Oh my god.
Thanks. Ryan.
Fingers are crossed.
All
The
right,
fingers
Rich.
are crossed.
I think you're good to take us away.
Okay, well, we know Arnold, and we know Ren, but I think that as the camera opens and we see the little card 10 days ago, at the bottom. The camera swooping in over the streets of Glarendar at night, lanterns and torches illuminating the various citizens as they move through their space. We might see some familiar faces of the Wardens of Wanda moving through this community that they now all call home as we sweep through the streets, cutting and moving until we focus in on the pair of Arnold and Rin, as I think the two of you find yourself together on this evening, and it may have been some time since you've seen one another. So my question is, where do we find you? Where do we locate the two of you?
Rin, I leave it to you.
I mean, that's an interesting question. I feel like we might be on the outskirts of Glarendar at this point, because Arnold tends to venture out, as does Rin, usually not always found in Glarendar. I think both of us are often elsewhere doing some other stuff. So I think it'd be interesting if we had met up almost as like we were either both leaving or returning from whatever stuff we do.
You know, I think it is very likely. So Arnold, the warforged juggernaut barbarian turned druid, or turning druid. To say he has turned druid is very much overselling his current capabilities, as he is struggling to understand why moss is growing out of the wooden crevasses in his otherwise metallic face, why sometimes fire generates in his hand and he can't seem to put it out, why sometimes he is shooting out blue beams of light from his eyes and other people are gaining very tiny slices of hit points back. He does not quite understand why when he looks at grass and kind of just like points at it, starts sprouting out flowers and greenery and just looking even more elegant and beautiful than nature otherwise offers. And he certainly doesn't understand to the full extent the power of these grape tasting and smelling berries that occasionally appear in his hand, as he often inadvertently smashes them into his hands, and as he's scratching at his mossy beard is staining this otherwise brown and green moss purple. And if you were to get up close to Arnold to sniff him for any intoxication, you would smell what appears to be like a strong wine scent from the grapey berry. But it is not something that Eshrin would be necessarily interested in. Although, who knows? Perhaps a collaboration is in the offing. Yes.
It's a beautiful callback to Arnold and Rin's first adventure together. One of the first to Glarendar, where you were accompanied by your druidic friend Bram Brambleheel, who brought a handful of good berries and offered them up to the robot barbarian at the time,
and
who
so,
gleefully smashed
Arnold,
them in his hand, and thus the jam hands of Arnold were born.
Is that correct? You know, the moon is shining and casting its light on his the metal man's metallic frame as he is walking the road to Glarendar, as he often does. It's a long commute for Arnold, who otherwise lives at Foxglove Farm with Dad, where he protects his father, plays with the animals, has been bringing food and warmth and supplies to I believe it is Blue Claw, the polar bear, who is living in the hills and protecting her young, who Arnold has promised he will someday reunite her and her family with their homeland, though he has not yet figured out how to do such a thing. But Arnold is not remiss in his responsibilities to the Wardens of Wanda, and so from time to time, when he 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, he is returning to Glarendar from Foxglove Farm, wandering down the road when it is possible that he will run into a young creature. Young? I don't know.
Relatively young. I think Rin, I said, is 52, which is relatively young for Verdance.
He will run into for those who are just podcast listeners and do not know, maybe on his way to run into a special friend who fits the following description and current conditions as outlined by this character's architect, Kevin Mahadeo, my podcast co-host on Everything is Super.
Yeah, so coming from I think like a different direction, maybe from like the from where the Yearwood is strolling along a 3'6" small creature with big ol' ears, green skin, green eyes, green stylish hair, with a shield strapped to her back, and as well as a long sword that on their small frame looks practically like a great sword. And this is Rin, a paladin decked out in brand new armor that they got recently. It's very nice and fancy. It's made of lacquered wood and is plate. It's from Oakzone, a phenomenal city that they visited during an adventure. And it has been a long time since Rin has seen Arnold, since, in fact, that very first mission. Rin and Arnold has not seen each other since. So this is really interesting for them. They are coming from where they tend to go, which I guess at this point I will say part of the reason Rin isn't always found in Glarendar is because Verdans are natural wanderers and paladins are natural helpers. So while there isn't like heavy details in terms of like adventures themselves, Rin is often found wandering around, going to farmsteads, going to other places to offer any sort of help that is needed. And so every now and then, though, they make sure to also find their way back to Glarendar, where they can lend their services if needed. And so that's where they're headed right now. And they see a stomping, presumably, giant metal man coming their way. And will probably explain or exclaim as they see this person, Arnold! Oh, my fun-forged friend! Well, it has been some time, hasn't it? Look at you! You've got like a whole band thing going on.
Yeah, Arnold looks around, and at his height, like it takes him a minute to because he's just hearing this voice that's just like pummeling him from seemingly nowhere. And Arnold's like initially a little bit on high alert. He's like been like scratching at his beard with one like jam-soaked hand, and he's like, "What is this? Who is this?" And then he's finally going to just like track the voice all the way down to its natural source, which is this 3'6" Burden
right up
at his feet. And Arnold, though, may struggle somewhat with his vocabulary, has a pretty strong memory. And even in the one time the two met, this little guy left an impression on Arnold. And so Arnold looks down and goes, "Rin, good morning."
Good morning to you as well. And what a morning it is. Wonderful morning out there.
What morning? He says as he points up at the night sky, directly up at the moon. And as he does, from his hands, he releases five of the grape scented and tasting good berries just like fall out from his hand as he just sort of like points upward towards the evening. And they just like shower down.
Catch them as they're falling.
They like drop down upon Rin as though like just like a bunch of grapes had fallen out of a cup and just like plopped him on the head.
Oh well, look! Where did these come from? Did you get these from Bram?
Get the Bram? Where? Arnold has recently traveled with Bram. Has a lot of questions for Bram. Because Bram is a fellow druid and Arnold does not understand what this is yet. He only vaguely understands the notion that he has been selected somehow for this sacred order.
That's a good question. I don't know where Bram is. He's another one I haven't seen in a while. I feel like I haven't seen many of these people in a long time. But how have you been? Not that maybe you might be able to answer.
How Arnold been? How Arnold been? Arnold C. Arnold itchy? Arnold very itchy? As he's like scratching at this like mossy beard. Arnold moody. Arnold hot. Arnold have question for Bram. Most of all, Arnold itch very much. Very itch as he's just like scratching at this like mossy beard that every time like he like kind of like rakes some clumps, like you just slowly see like the moss is just like kind of regrowing very quickly.
That is an interesting situation you have there. Rin would try something, which will be interesting because Rin doesn't know that Arnold could do this, but being partially telepathic, Rin is going to take a moment and concentrate to try and talk directly into Arnold's head to be like, why do you have a flower beard?
I think Arnold does this tiny little jump in the air that adds an extra foot and a half to his height momentarily.
Rin backs away a little bit.
Over Rin, and Arnold backs away from them and looks around and says, "Who say this? Rin, more Rin out there? Rins.
And Rin waves at Arnold and then just taps their head and then points to your head.
And Arnold points at Rin, points at them and goes, "Rin in Arnold's head?"
Rin nods up at Arnold and says, I guess mentally, fancy trick.
And Arnold kind of smiles with his big blue eyes, which are blue because there's no danger as far as he can detect. And Rin hears Arnold's voice, but much more articulate, beam into his head because the into their head. But the voice that Arnold is able to project is able to wield words much more efficiently than he can when he is out speaking out loud. And Arnold says, "A very fancy trick indeed, friend."
And Rin's eyes just go huge. It's just and is talking back to Arnold as best as they can. It's my, oh my, well, this is fascinating. This is better than we can do it for sure. That means you're doing this.
And Arnold, out loud, points back and forth between himself and Rin, and then points to his head and goes, "Genius!"
And Rin nods and points to Arnold and is just "Genius indeed!" And you can hear it in Arnold's head specifically.
Yeah. So yeah, I think probably until they're interrupted, if they're interrupted, Arnold would just have so many
full
questions.
Conversation, yeah.
Yeah, Arnold would kind of regale Rin with a lot of the tales of where he's been over the last couple of months since they've seen each other, that he's been fighting the Thavian Red Wizard Ixon Rival alongside his friend Simber Cimarron, who Rin perhaps knows.
I believe, yeah, Rin did meet Simber.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were.
And probably will say I think Simber was one where Rin was on the adventure where they got the new armor and would probably be "Oh yes, we went to Oakstone together. That's where I got this fancy thing."
And so there's just a lot of I think war stories that are being traded between these two friends as they are spending a significant amount of time just catching up. It's been a while.
Yeah,
Catching up.
Yeah.
As the two of you are walking quietly, I think that's the real poignancy. The pair of you walk down this road back towards the city that you now call home, the city that Wanda calls home, where your friends live. And not a sound can be heard save for the sound of the night birds and the wind in the trees, the soft and heavy footfalls of the pair of you side by side treading this road back towards the base of the mountains in the east. But a conversation of more depth than Rin might have ever imagined with this individual when they first met is carried out over the course of this hour as we watch the pair of you kind of closing back into home. And so I think that as the pair of you make your way in through the western gate of the city, the guards, very familiar with Arnold's presence at this point and likely aware of Rin as well as somebody who stands out, a person of note here in Clarendar. They nod with respect and appreciation as you stride past them. And I think as a lot of you, Clarendar, very walkable city, as we know. You come into the temple district near the Temple of St. Sarah. this holy site, the fountain that Arnold
Where
loves
we
so
first met,
dearly.
isn't it?
Yes, this is my fountain. I like to stomp around. It's very fun, Rin. I make big splash. People laugh. Arnold feel good. People feel good. Everyone wins.
All of this is just in Rin's head.
Yeah.
But he's like gesturing broadly so that anybody who is like watching them is like they're just like sort of like pantomiming at each other. That it probably is a very strange sight for what is already often a very strange sight.
Yeah, Rin is definitely replying about, like, in the same gesturing of just, like, remember when you first came out, you were walking around, splashing around the fountain, and I'm out there, you know, running beside you, my short little legs trying to keep up, asking you what you're doing, had no idea what you were. At that time, oh, man, what a weird day that was.
Arnold still don't know. Arnold try find out every day. Feels like Arnold find out new thing about Arnold. Arnold do this.
As he like snaps his fingers and produces like a little flame ball in his hand, and he's like,
But then Arnold don't know how to make it go away other than this.
and he stuffs his hand down into like the fountain of Saint Sarah, and the water just like sort of like dissipates the fire, and he's just like kind of like shrugging his shoulders like,
Arnold do not know what Arnold doing, Rin.
I sometimes know what that's like. You know, it's weird. Things happen to us Verdans as well. We don't really know why or exactly how, but it's change. Change isn't always bad. Change can be great. Change can be magnificent.
change can be itchy, as he's just scratching at his mossy beard.
I imagine it might be one day, as they scratch at their hair on their head, and says, it's interesting you don't know where you're from. You know, I have this similar problems. Verdans have no idea where we're really from. At the end of the day, we just sort of showed up all across this globe. We have ideas, but you're interesting, though. You're one of a kind.
It's true. Nobody quite like Arnold.
Isn't that a fact?
I think as the pair of you are having this silent conversation yet again, you would catch sight of a familiar figure amidst the citizens of Glarendar. The night, it's not super late yet, but the night is set in, and so there's fewer people in the streets than there would be in the middle of the day. But this figure would catch your sight, day or night, as you see this tall, kind of blue-furred tabaxi, this feline figure, wearing this kind of resplendent black, almost velvet-looking suit, with a short cane at their side that's kind of like tapping next to them as they come walking out. The right hand of one of Wanda's leaders, Kamari, this blue tabaxi in the right hand of Agatha, kind of like strides out from one of the side streets, seeing the pair of you, and like waves at you both.
Hey, Kamari! Looks like a bright reunion happening here, huh?
He comes like walking over and pats Rin on their shoulder, much shorter than they are, and then he offers a hand out to Arnold for a shake, the warrior's grasp.
Covering his blue fur in also smash burgers.
In additional berries. And I think that he, like, looking at the pair of you, he's like, he just kind of gestures, like, come, take a walk. He says no words out loud, much like the pair of you, but he gestures for you to follow.
Yeah, I think Rin will look at Arnold and just be like, shrug and be like, let's go for a walk, see what's up, eh?
Okay, and so he begins striding towards the northern portion of the city. And I think as the pair of you are walking, he's out in front, leading quietly. He kind of smiles back to you a bit as you go, but up the winding path of Connor's Peak you lead. The view to the east, dark and ominous. Naught can be seen as there is not lit in that direction, but to the west the city spreads out beneath you as you climb the slopes. The Warden's Hold, imposing structure that it is, built into the side of the mountain before you. And Kamari leads you into the entry halls. You would likely pass some of your friends and comrades who call this place home now, but he actually leads you back towards one of the towers. This is not a place that the wardens go frequently, though some have been here before. And opening the door, he kind of leads you in deeper. Taking some turns until finally he approaches one door and he takes a heavy ring of keys out, unlocking it, and then another key, unlocking it again. And you see him trace what looks like some type of sigil on the door with his long fingernail before he pushes it open.
I think Arnold is like studying the way that he's tracing the door very, very intently, probably despite himself. As we've established, he sees something, he learns it, right? So I think like he has that Kamari pattern of whatever he's just traced.
Of that sigil?
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
For potential future use.
Okay, that's good. That won't come back to bite me. And so the door opens.
Like you change your password every couple of times.
Yeah.
Right.
Tell Kamari to Arnold is not going to dox Kamari, but
he does not have a password
Kamari better
protector.
pay up is all.
Yeah.
Arnold is.
He's very anachronistic. He has this sigil written down on a sheet of paper somewhere on his desk.
Yes.
And so the pair of you like stand behind him, and this big blue tabaxi opens the door. You see inside Agatha, the elder kind of witch, one of the leaders of Wanda, this woman who sent you on your very first mission together, the mission which raised this fortress up from the roots of the mountain where it had been buried for these past centuries. This entire fortress the wardens hold, where your friends call home, having been restored by your actions together along with some of your friends. And so as you see Agatha inside, she's like, good. Both of you right where you were supposed to be. It's eerie almost. Please come in. And as Kamari steps into the room and the pair of you follow, you realize immediately this room is like overwhelming to the visual senses, at least, as you look around and you realize that the floor is etched with these ancient arcane symbols, similar in nature to the pattern that Kamari just drew. They are literally metal inlaid into the polished marble stone of the floor, and the walls around you are encrusted with gems. Just sort of glimmering from their many facets, light reflecting off of them. The Wardens of Wanda having retrieved the very treasure which is now up around the walls of this place, and this room having been used before for certain missions that may have set forth from the Warden's hold.
Yeah, I think Arnold's like looking around, and you just hear sort of like an R2-D2 whistle emit from him as he then completely switches pop culture references and goes,
Wowie, wow, this is amazing.
but he's just saying this to Rin because he's still just like used to just talking to them telepathically right now. He's so locked into that. The whistle is out loud. I think out loud what he says is good
Morning.
Very fancy place, isn't it? We actually, a couple of us covered a bunch of these gems from a cave out in the forest. Not a great adventure. Didn't really like that one as much, but really strange place. Some use for some teleporting. We have to recover something else. We're always recovering something for this place. Always wondering what it's for.
Well, today I can tell you what it is for, and I am not so certain that you will like this mission either, but you too are the only ones who could be selected for it. Fate has chosen you, not me. Fate has chosen me merely to give the message to you.
Rin definitely cocks their head like, well, that's certainly interesting, isn't it?
Ominous even, isn't it? Do you
I'm
know...
in this too.
Arnold says.
I think Agatha
Arnold's
smiles.
also in this.
Love it.
Agatha smiles despite her stern demeanor, this glimmer in her eyes, as she looks over the pair of you. And I think that she says, do you remember, Arnold, where you were before you came here to us?
Oh, Arnold came.
Do you remember who sent you?
Who sent
Arnold?
Arnold does not. To the point that like him being sent is not really something that he has considered. Is not really something that he has processed. You dial you turn the dial all the way back to the start of this particular podcast series, and you may recall such a scene. But Arnold, since arriving in Glarendar, whatever had happened to him from that moment to his arrival in Glarendar, that does not seem to exist for him. As far as Arnold can recall, his earliest memories, he's like sort of just like standing there kind of blankly, like swimming through the past in his mind, or whatever exists of a mind, recalls waking up at Connor's Peak and seeing Orville's hot air balloon. And that is where it begins for him. So Arnold keeps saying it out loud. Saint Arnold? Balloon? Balloon Saint Arnold?
I think she like smiling again is like, I do recall this balloon.
Oh, yes.
Orville.
Orville and his little tricks, always making different giant things. I heard he tried to get a centaur in there at one point. Glad that centaur didn't go in there. I feel like it would have ended badly.
Where's Centaur anyway?
It's a good question. I'm not sure.
Probably into woods. We are not here to find him, though. No. Well, I suppose if it started with the balloons, it was a good start then. And I think that she turns looking at you, Ren, like, you know Arnold's friend Simba. You traveled to Oakstone together, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. Had a right good one. That one was a good adventure. That was very fun. No really complaints there. Had a good time. Saw a city in a tree. Very fascinating.
Yes, it's a very magnificent place. Your efforts there, along with Simba's, were very useful to them and to us. They will not soon be forgotten. But, well, it's not Oakstone, but Simba the man. He is part of something greater than himself. I'm not so certain that even he knows, but my friend here is as well. Do you know this? And I think at this point, Kamari like opens his hand. He opens his palm, and you see in his palm is a pin. Much like you have pins as part of Wanda, but this pin is much different. It's that of like a silver harp over like a crescent moon. And she says, "Do you recognize this? Have you heard before?"
I don't think Rin recognizes that, but Rin can roll to see if they do.
Yeah, Rin should roll to see if they do. Let's start it gentle, Kevin. Why don't Rin make a history check, probably?
Started gentle. Oh, that's great. That's great for what the future means here.
Yeah, it is.
History check. Great. A good old 0. Bonus. Did that work?
Straight rolls. We love that. That's an 8. Well, that's good. Get those out of the way.
Yes,
you're not entirely sure, and I think that Agatha says...
I think Arnold would at least recognize it. He would point at the pin and go, Simba!
And she like nods at you like, indeed, yes. I was very glad when he came to Glarendar. I sent you to help him, Arnold. Do you remember that?
Help Simba. Remember,
Yes.
Arnold, remember.
Yes, good. Well, Simba is part of something larger even than Wanda is. This world, well, it is vast. It is bigger even than I have seen or will see in my days. And my focus is here, in Acheron and Thay to the east. But there are such troubles in every kingdom across the realm. Everywhere that free people live, there are those who would seek to hold them back, to take from them their right to live, well, a free life. There are despots and tyrants, those who are corrupt, terrible demons from beyond with their machinations that span centuries. And so to combat these things once, a very long time ago, a group gathered with the elves in the forests and the druids, their friends, bards, most of them, and clerics, many whom serve the noble deities that protect such ideas as freedom and knowledge and hope. And those people, they made a pact, an agreement of sorts. This place they met was called the Dancing Place. And
Well, that
this
sounds
pact,
delightful.
indeed, the stories say it was. They say, Rin, that they sat throughout the night debating how to make such a thing work, how so many disparate souls could come together to fight for one cause, how they could do so and remain safe without attracting the ire of these many enemies that are scattered around our world, and that before the dawn rose, the gods themselves spoke throughout these agents who had gathered to debate. But in the end, they did dance together in rejoicement, for they had figured out a path forward, and that path has quietly guided the ways of Faerun for centuries. She says, these people are called the Harpers. They fight quietly and loudly when they must, against tyranny and evil, against oppression, and all these things that free souls would seek to hold back in the world. And Simber is one of them, and I am glad to call him one of us as well.
Oh, so am I. That's a cause I could certainly support.
I think it's a cause you already support, whether you have known their name or not, and that is the true beauty of the Harpers in this world. Not all know each other. They do not live in some grand hold like we do. Wanda, well, we wear our pins openly. Those who work with us and take their vows as part of us, they are identified as us. We could be attacked here, and there is strength in us being together, but also vulnerability. I digress. The real point.
Arnold. It's the first thing that Arnold sort of staring blankly and like not really picking up on much of any of this.
There's a lot here. I think she says,
the grass, you Agatha.
Agatha. Yes, yes. What's
Kamari?
important?
Rin.
Yes. Yes. Well, what's truly important here is that the person who woke Arnold from the rest that he was part of, they were one of these Harpers.
The rest?
It's very complicated. I do not have all the answers, or I would give them to you now. This is not an instance where I mislead you with intention, or even for your own protection. There are many things I do not know, and Arnold's truth is certainly among those. But I know that the person who woke him is in desperate need of help. And only Arnold can help him, but we cannot send him alone, Rin.
Arnold just hears Arnold help, and if those are not the magic words, they certainly work like them. As Arnold kind of like straightens up, senses the severity in Agatha's words, and just nods very quickly. Arnold, help. Affirmative.
Rin is very delighted by that. I mean, like, that's right. You hear a call for help? Of course you take it up. Who do we have to help? Where are they?
They are not far from here, I believe. Not far at all. But they are not here now. Nor will they be tomorrow or next year or the year after. Arnold comes, Rin, from later. She says to move ahead. We have to go back. To remember what came before. We must move ahead.
We have to go back?
Of course you would do this.
We have to go back.
With the beard, the whole thing.
Yeah, with the beard and everything, really Shepherd energy right there. So Rin is just like, I'm sorry, are you saying what I think you're saying to us right now?
I'm going to send you to a time that is yet to come. Perhaps a time long past, but a time when there is one man in desperate need of your help. Of Arnold's help, and Arnold is in need of yours.
If someone's in help and Arnold needs help, I'm definitely going to offer it, but And at this notion, as they're thinking about what's about to happen, Rin definitely like is lighting up, just like, are you sending us forward in time to the future?
If I can, then I will.
Arnold is like looking around the room.
Future, true. Not enough chair here. Could decorate. Good chair there. Far too future.
Maybe a painting, probably over that one.
Painting.
Well, that was a lovely painting you brought back, Lucinda Trust. She is quite a conversationalist, actually, but no paintings in here. No chairs.
None of the gravity of what Rin is excited about is hitting Arnold. To a point that, like, if they were even to try and articulate this to Arnold, like, Arnold would probably...
Do not know, do not care, just must help.
Really
Also
important things right there.
get more furniture. Don't skimp on the lounge chair.
This room, I know it seems like an ostentatious display of wealth, but these gems are forged over tens of thousands of years deep within the earth. It is a magic of the world itself that such things can be pulled from the soil, from the stone, a magic dwarves know and revere. This place and the world, well, you have seen many things since you have both come here, but there is deep magic here, old magic. The web of magic around Faerun itself, it's called the Weave. It's more like a web. Spiders were here before weavers, she says. Nonetheless, these conduits, these lines of power, ley lines across the earth, they converge in some places. And here is a place where many such converge. So these gems have been placed within here to help channel powerful magics, old magics, to do things that are not seen in this day and age. Things we thought could never be done again. I have something very old. And I think she, at this point, like pulls out this old bone scroll case, right? And she pulls a cap from one side, and you see her take out this like very thin, delicate bound piece of parchment. She's holding so like daintily between her long wrinkled fingers, you know. And she says, I have one chance only to do this thing. I can open the way. I can send my friends with you, at least for the first part of your journey. And she gestures to Kamari. She says, from there, I must hope that fate carries through what it has brought to me so far, and that the path will be made clear to you. But yes, I am going to send you back to the future.
Thank you. Rin is like bouncing in excitement practically. Well, this sounds absolutely amazing. Going to the future. Oh my god, time probably is like a web, isn't it? All these branching paths. Oh, well, Kamari's going to come. That sounds fun. Arnold, we definitely have to do this. Just point me in the right direction. This is amazing.
Yeah, I think Arnold is still just like sort of like scratching at his beard, looking around, being,
Where we go? Arnold want help. Arnold need help. Where are we going, Rin? Show me the way. Ready to fight. Let's go. I don't care.
Well-
Where we go far, that's fine. I can walk. Can we fly? I also am happy, comfortable flying.
all of this just like telepathically to Rin as he's just like gesturing around, being like,
I'm just getting a little stir crazy if I'm being completely honest. Would like to get going. I get to say help. I'm here to help.
And Rin's just like, don't worry, old friend. We're about to go right now. And from the sounds of it, you're about to go home.
Go home. The Dad, Foxglove Farm back. Arnold just came from there.
A different home. Not that home, it sounds like. Lots of homes for people. But to Agatha, and is just like, I think Arnold's ready to go. Seems and looks over, notices his giant sword on his back and his giant maul, and is just like, and he seems quite well packed.
That's good, Rin, because much as I know
Arnold
that I
always
must...
was packed.
You're on mute.
Arnold always well packed. Arnold like produces his great sword from seemingly nowhere. Arnold have great sword. He produces his maul. Arnold have maul. He just like keeps putting like weapons on his back, removing things, showing them over and over again. Arnold have 18-pounder. He detaches his huge crossbow from his back.
I think that Agatha says, well, it's good that you're ready, and it's good that he is well armed. Much as I know that I must find you to and send you on this very night to do this very thing, I imagine that others know you are coming. I think that you are going to walk into a very dangerous situation. I expect you will be hard pressed. I hope you both return. But I do not know what happens after this moment. So if you're ready, I will begin.
Rin has questions, but Rin also is just too excited to ask, and is probably like, I probably have some questions. I think I'm gonna ask him when I get back though, because this is too exciting to pass up of an opportunity.
I think it's at this moment Kamari like kind of places a hand on your shoulder, Rin, and just like taps their temple a little bit and like points at you.
And Kamari looks over to, or Rin looks over to Kamari and concentrates hard enough to reach into the silent tabaxi's head.
Mm-hmm. And I think that you hear his voice like, well, I was waiting for you to do that.
Sorry, it's always hard to say these days who, just going into someone's head. I did it before to you without asking, and I realized that was very rude of me, so I didn't want to do it, out of turn this time.
Actually, that's quite thoughtful of you. But you're welcome here anytime, friend.
You're welcome.
You can't hear this, but that's what he would say.
Mm-hmm. And I think that Kamari says to you, she will begin the casting. And I think as he's saying it, you see Agatha unrolls this parchment like terribly carefully and kind of sets it down on this pedestal that's in the center of the room. And she's just kind of like moving her finger over it, and she just begins murmuring, conjuring these arcane words, her hands moving in these incredibly intricate gestures as she starts to walk in like this slow circle around the room. And Kamari's voice resonates in your mind, Ren, and he says, we're going to stand right here until all melts away beside us, and we will be in a place called the Myriad. It is hard to explain what that is, though she has tried. A nexus point between time, space, reality. I can't be sure. Such things are beyond me. I can go with you that far, my friends. I can help face whatever awaits us there, but the journey beyond will be yours alone, and you are the guide for our large friend.
Well, I'll certainly do my best to lead him wherever we need to go. And considering the danger, Agatha said, it's probably best that you stay behind, and we forge on from there. Forge on, huh?
I think he says, this man, his name is Merrick. I knew him. He was born quite a long time ago, actually. He took a trip similar to this once. It's all very confusing, to be honest. But I do know that on this very night he will need you. And if you fail, I think he looks to Arnold like, well, I have no idea what will happen if you fail. It's a bit like a pretzel.
Well, we better not fail then, huh? Time can be very confusing. Very big ball of mess more than anything else.
Arnold just like
Indeed.
sort of like sees what Rin is doing with his hands, and just like sort of just like starts like matching it a little bit. Yeah, just gesturing.
And I think Kamari winks at you, Arnold. And I think that as this is happening, like Agatha's voice begins to rise, and her gestures become like more and more violent. And I think that the piece of paper sitting in the pedestal in the middle of the room suddenly begins to like glow with this wild, scintillating light that just kind of emits up and spreads out. And suddenly the gems on the wall are reflecting the light 1,000 times over. The room filled with this kind of cacophony of just like light shimmering colors moving so fast. And I think that you just hear Kamari's voice one last time, Ren, like, this is it then. Steel yourselves And I think that there's a ring on his finger that flares suddenly. And Rin, you are affected with the spell Haste. Arnold, the room, as you're like watching Agatha, suddenly like she kind of just becomes almost ethereal, spectral, and vanishes from sight, and the light of the room and the walls around you just like blinds you. Rin and Arnold, you're both like forced to close your eyes momentarily, overwhelmed by this sight that's spinning around you.
I think the way that manifests for Arnold is like systems shut down. Like he just like kind of like slumps a little tiny bit. Like there's like a little bit of just like his shoulders move forward. He's just sort of like in like someone like turned him off. Like the power went out as he's just like standing there. His eyes, which are always some color, totally blank.
And with that, Rin, you are the one who sees it as you blink your eyes back around you, and suddenly you find yourself standing on what appears to be almost a sheet of stained glass beneath your feet, a pedestal very reminiscent of the one that you just left in the center of the room, Kamari standing in between you and this figure that is Arnold. Light very clearly coming from these various directions around you as you see out in front of you these large kind of crystalline structures on pedestals of various size, and this myriad of colors of like a teal and an aquamarine and blues, purple, violet, indigo, and red and orange and yellow and back to green around you, just like filling the room.
Rin's eyes are just huge, taking all of this in. Just like, so Kamari is still here at the moment, or Kamari?
Yes, he's standing here with you, just behind you. Yep.
So yeah, Rin is gonna say, probably out loud, "This is absolutely incredible. Look at all this. Do all these things lead to different places, times, things? What? This is amazing."
And I think you hear from behind you. I think that they might, Kamari says with his like real voice, the first time either of you have ever heard this figure speak. And he says, but I believe we have more pressing issues. Is he awake? He looks at Arnold as you're like following your kind of gaze around this circular room, Rin, to the point where you see this enormous, almost centaur-like
Varix
monstrosity standing on the side of the room, somewhere near perhaps your 5 o'clock if it were a clock. And I think this figure like two horse hooves stomping into the stone of the floor as it steps forward, and it just growls like, "Finally! I have been waiting so long for you."
That is one ugly looking. By you, who exactly do you mean?
And I think it like just glares right at your small form, and it says, "I mean you, Arinyana."
And Rin's face just like kind of falls and is just like, "How do you know that name?"
You can ask me during the endless torment your soul will suffer once I trap it. First, though, you'll have to die.
Rin definitely pops out their shield and sword and just says, "Arnold, could use that help now."
Rin, you may roll initiative. Kamari and this nightmarish Nada centaur will also roll initiative. Arnold, I don't know what you are doing.
I'll go last.
Oh, look at this. It's all the people from the last podcast are here in this initiative tracker. Oh my gosh.
Haven't done this. Let's see. Okay, I click on that and then.
Oh, let's see.
So it's going like this, is it?
Oh, fear not. It's good to go last. It's good to go last. That's a good feeling, right? That's a good feeling sometimes. And so I think that with that, this enormous figure, it has almost the body of a horse, but the tail emerging off of it appears to have some vicious, serrated, almost bone-like blade projecting from the back. There are metal plates over the back, the broad back that would be a horse's, but then it has a humanoid torso in the front, huge muscled arms with these strange, almost spikes growing out of them and sort of scales around its shoulders, these bone spurs protruding from those very shoulders. Antlers again, but not antlers, more like bone that project off this monstrous face that just kind of smiles at you with these terrible canine teeth and scimitar like claws.
Tusks are the word if you wanted to John Locke it, but
I know. I made a last minute pivot there. And so with that, this creature leaps to action.
I'm
And I
assuming,
think,
by the way, it's probably easy to tell this is some sort of fiend demonic creature.
oh, indeed it is.
Okay, cool.
Ren.
Right.
it is not a
Indeed, it
person.
is. It is definitively a demon, and I think Ren can feel that in their very essence. There is no need to use your divine gifts to discern this truth, for that part at least is abundantly clear to you. And to be clear, Ren has been hasted, which for you, Ren, means here.
Yeah, what does that mean?
I shall show you this because it means a bunch of cool stuff. What it means is you have +2 to your armor class. Your speed is doubled. You have advantage on all dexterity saving throws.
Well, that's
And
good.
you gain an additional action on each of your turns.
Wow.
Oh,
But it's not a
that's-
full action. You can only use it to make one weapon attack, to dash, to disengage, to hide, or to use an object. Still pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah, feels still pretty good. And at this point, this thing, the horse legs moving in this strange synchronized motion, it charges across the room, barreling towards you, where it closes in with Arnold, who has not had opportunity to rage yet, and it will make its attacks.
Hey, you stay away from him.
As it comes barreling up, it proceeds to rear up the front hooves, hammering towards Arnold. Arnold, what's your AC?
16. That'll hit.
That does hit. Arnold, you take 15 points of bludgeoning
Gotcha.
damage.
Yep.
Good start. This is a good.
This is a great start.
Yeah, great start.
Then it lashes out with its claws. 12. That's a miss.
Does not hit.
We hear the rending of metal as these vicious claws drag across Arnold's chest. And finally, its tail lances out towards Ren. Ren, what's your AC? +2 because hasted?
That would be 22.
Oh, great. 20.
Oh, thank God.
The magic flowing through you.
Oh, thank you,
giving
Kamari.
this incredible speed. You are able to get your blade up in time to kind of just deflect this thing away from you. You have never moved this fast, Ren. This is an incredible sensation. That is its turn. Kamari will act on 16.2. He proceeds to leap into the fray, literally vaulting up into the air, at which point he Kamari's character sheet out there for the stream. He lands here behind Arnold on the far side of this creature.
Rin
And
is very impressed with Kamari.
yes, awesome. His little cane, it's about to get more impressive. Shink! He
Love it.
pulls
I
a
love
short
it.
sword
Yes,
out of
cane
his
sword.
tiny cane. And it's just like, this is what we fight for, friends. Everything now, here. Leave nothing behind. And he will attack. Oops. I have him on whisper mode. Okay. First attack. Oops. Second attack. 27 hits. I know it says claws. This is actually his cane sword. It should be. For 6 points of slashing damage as he stabs into this thing. For his bonus action, Kamari proceeds to shout like, Arnold, now! And he's going to use a maneuvering strike wherein he gives you an opportunity to attack even though it's not your turn, Arnold.
Great.
That's awesome.
And so I can do that now, right?
Yes,
Um,
and you get to add 6 to your attack roll.
Great.
Ooh,
So
is
I think-
Kamari a fighter class?
So
to
I
the damage. at least.
6 to damage or the attack roll?
The damage, my bad.
Amazing.
I'm reading
So
closely.
I think
Yep.
as that happens, I think it's like simultaneously happening. I imagine that like Kamari leaps out as this demon centaur like comes up and starts attacking Arnold. So it's like it's attacking me, Kamari is attacking the demon. When that claw comes down and misses, that's because Arnold, who has otherwise been powered off to this point, suddenly has reactivated, but like lifelessly, like joylessly. The joy of Arnold, it's gone. It's not here. His eyes beaming blood red as he catches the claw, throws the arm down, ka-chunks his greatsword off his back, and slices up at this demon.
Ka-chonk. I love the ka-chonk in Greatsword. It's eternal.
And that's
great.
a crit. That's a natural 20.
Epic.
While raging, that's the red.
Epic.
Wow.
I'm
For
going to make a call here. All the dice get damaged, get doubled on a crit. So we're going to double the superiority die.
wow. So then that would be what? That would be 30 points of damage.
Okay.
Am
so
I
yes.
mathing accurately?
Arnold did 16 plus
Yep.
2 for rage is 18 plus 12 for Kamari's superiority die is 30 points of damage.
Yeah.
That was your first attack.
Yes. And now I'm up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
That wasn't even your first attack. That was on Kamari's turn.
Right.
Now you're up.
And so now, as he's like activated, as his eyes are just like beaming with like the red light of war, he has done like one swing up. He does one swing down. He's recklessly. Oh, he doesn't need to because we're flanking.
Also, just
Oh my
order of
God.
operations. 20! This is freaking unreal.
Is that on
This
the
is
stream? Can you
unreal.
see that?
That's insane.
Yes, they can see these rolls. This is unreal, you guys. Holy cow. Order of operations. I have to subtract 2 points of damage because you weren't raging last time, but now you are.
Got it.
You would have had to rage on your turn.
Totally fine.
Regardless.
Yep.
Now go ahead and roll your nightmare damage again. Oh, my sweet mother of God.
So 18. Wow.
Yep. That's 18 points of damage. Arnold, that's your first attack, second attack.
Right, so he like swings that sword down, and then like with like a third, like a lateral cut, he's just like gonna like arc it like deep at this creature's like head, neck, chest area for 19.
19 hits.
Yeah. For 13 additional points of damage.
So that's total 46, 59 points of damage in one round.
Yep,
It's-
28, 30.
That's got to be
41.
my personal record, so that feels great.
That's
I
almost
think
as much as Katara.
I
Yeah.
think it's 59. I think it's 59. But it's really impressive.
That's it. That's the turn.
Oh, that's it? That's all?
That's all I'll
Okay.
do. I'll say.
Rin.
Josh, we're
You're
very
up.
excited. Arnold is just like he's going through the motions right now. Machine designed for killing, Modok style, except not as
yeah.
stout.
So Rin will go charge forward. Do I get flanking as well or no? Because it's
Yeah, damn right you do.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So with the flanking, I will also. Yeah. All right. I don't get to use this often, so I'm gonna because this is fun. So as Rin goes there, as running forward, they also clap their hands together, and energy radiates through them as they cast protection from evil and good. Do you want me to drop that in there?
Yeah, sure. Drop it in the chat. Folks can see it at home.
So,
Protection from evil and good is awesome.
Yes. So I am now, for the next 10 minutes, against certain types of creatures, which I assume you are, an aberration, celestial, elemental, fae, fiend, and undead. They have disadvantage on attack rolls against me. I also cannot be charmed, frightened, or possessed by them.
All very useful traits when fighting a horrific centaur demon.
Yes, that was what I assumed. So that's my one action. And so for my second action, I will attack, as I can do that. And it's with advantage. So I just click on longsword, right? Yeah.
Here I was worried about coming in too hard at you guys.
16, does it hit?
16 does hit. That's its armor class. Go ahead and roll damage.
Sweet. And yeah, for funsies, because it is a demon and it, for whatever reason, wants to take my soul and also knows my name, which I don't like. As the sword connects for damage, an energy flows through the sword, and there is a loud clap, as if the sound of thunder, as Rin also divine smites. And...
Go for it. You get an extra 1d8 on your divine smite because it is a demon.
Right.
So you could either just roll 3d8 or you could click your divine smite button.
I actually think it's well with the sword it'll be 4d8 because the sword is a d8.
Oh yeah. Sure. Yep.
Okay. So how do I roll this out?
Oh, hilarious. Go down in the chat underneath the 16 and the 13
smite.
and click that. Click longsword one-handed. Damage will drop out.
Okay. So then this will do all of it together, right?
Should.
Is it going to do the third one? Because it's...
No.
Okay.
We'll roll that one manually.
All right, let's see.
That's 20 points of damage, and then an additional 1d8. So on the left side of the screen, Kevin, for those of us listening, we're in roll 20. If you scroll down over the dice on the left side of the screen, just click a d8 for the extra one.
Cool. That's 27 damage.
That's not bad for one attack.
Yeah.
Arnold, too.
This would be where I would say, me, Arnold, but Arnold isn't in that mode right now.
So, Rin, you burn a first-level spell slot.
I burned 2 because I cast Protection and I cast Divine Smite.
Sure did.
Yep.
Gosh, this was supposed to be more dramatic, but what does it look like as you decimate this nightmare demon?
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Between Arnold and I.
I'm not going to front, man. You guys kick ass. You kick ass.
Sweet.
Wow.
Yeah, as the energy flows through their sword, obviously backed from help from Kamari and Arnold, the strike essentially sends a burst of energy into its core as it's just like from bright like energy inside of it start radiating outwards as it just like shatters almost into pieces and explodes into nothingness.
Yes. It's like shattering explosion rolls through the room. And I think Kamari, like standing, like 15 feet away from you guys behind where this nightmare thing was, it just like looks at the pair of you like, well, that's encouraging at least.
It's good to have a hell of a fighter on our side. And of course, this Warforged Juggernaut over here really helped out.
Yeah, Arnold like straightens up, puts his greatsword back on his back, ka-chunks it, and only says, affirmative.
And I think Kamari, like, just shaking his head, like, shink, slips the short sword back into the cane at his side. She, like, twirls once, and he's like, well, we're here.
Anybody know what exactly that was? Why it knowed my name?
They know we're coming, Rin. Somebody sent word back to send you. Then somebody knows that you'll be coming.
Well, that's deeply encouraging.
Time is very confusing. I know that from here you must use this one. And he like gestures to this like large purple cluster of crystals on kind of like almost like the 2 o'clock of the room. And he says, we will not be moved far from where we left. It will return you to whatever Glarendar looks like in this time. It's dark. I want you to know what you're walking into may be very jarring for you.
Well, we appreciate you bringing us along this way, but I guess it's up to us to continue onwards. Appreciate the help you have given, and hope to see you soon, I suppose.
Seems like you didn't need my help much at all. Better
Rin grins
safe
up at
than
Arnold.
sorry. Better safe than sorry, though, my friend.
Oh, nonsense. If it wasn't for you, I would have gotten hit on that first one. It would have been pretty brutal. You came in close if I wasn't moving that fast, so you always contribute more than you think, Kamari.
It's fair enough. I think we see the light in this like center structure of the room beginning to fade. Oh gosh, fireworks, that's great. We see the light in the center of the room beginning to fade slightly. And he like turns looking back like, that's my cue, friends. I cannot long linger here. The druids will remember you, even if they've never met you before. They will know him. Merrick. Well, you'll know him when you find him.
All right, well, come on, Arnold. Let's go before time runs out.
Farewell, my friends. I think he stops in front of you, Arnold, and he just like offers his hand up again. Like, your coming to us was a gift. I hope you come back again.
And I think Arnold is still just sort of staring straight ahead as he says, "Affirmative."
And with that, Kamari, like, stepping back onto, like, the central dais, he points to, like, the 3 o'clock of the room, this large purple crystal. And I think you just hear his words as, like, light begins emitting up out of this stained glass. And it's like the light is beginning to pass through his form. And he's becoming insubstantial and wraith-like. Kamari, like, disincorporating. And you just hear his voice echo through the room again, like, touch the crystals. They will send you where you must go. And with that, he is gone.
And so Kamari had advised them to touch the purple crystals.
Mm-hmm.
So I think wordlessly, without even speaking to Rin outside or telepathically, like out loud or telepathically, Arnold walks away from them and just starts sort of like clomping towards purple crystal.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, Rin's definitely following. Ready to grab on and see where this adventure goes. Although it's very tempting, as they're just like, as a moment, like always just like reaching out to be like, no, can't do that. I can't do that.
Don't touch that one.
Yeah.
Mm.
You do note as you walk through this place, it seems like a blasted kind of ruin in many ways. These crystals are magnificent, glowing their many colors. It evokes a lot of the same like tonality of the room that you left behind. But this place, it feels like battles have been fought here. Great things have happened here. Terrible things have happened here. Many questions for another time, perhaps, as the pair of you reach out, kind of touching these crystals. And with that, this darkness swallows you and kind of surrounds you. The lot of you removed from this place. And I think you blink to yourselves a bit, and suddenly you find yourselves standing in a ruin not so dissimilar from the place you just came, save that there are no majestic colored lights. There's no beautiful bejeweled room around you. Rather, you stand in like the smashed, broken room that you were just in moments ago, as though the gems had all been pried from the walls. The runes and sigils on the floor where Agata sent you from have been defaced and torn apart. The door that hung over the passageway into this place blasted entirely from its hinges, long gone. There's this scent in the air of sulfur and ash, of smoke. And you realize you're standing in like the blasted out, bejeweled room of some warden's hold in the distant future.
Oh my, this does not look great.
Yeah, Arnold is still kind of like in this like personality free mode. Like everything you know about this guy at this point. The dancing, the rage towards trolls, the telepathic insults he hurls, the life seems to be gone, replaced solely by mission focus and just like laser precision, looking out at the room, surveying it, and just like kind of like doing that until further notice.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And so,
Rin is definitely like concerned, but in their mind is also just like, well, certainly need to fix whatever's happening here if it'll help get you back to your old Funforge self. Not a huge fan of the quieter Arnold.
I
Prefer
think
the old
Arnold
conversation.
Arnold does hear the word help, and he does say help. Affirmative.
Rin smiles at that. Well, good to know you're in there somewhere, my friend.
and so
Yeah, can we, I guess, head on explore?
with that, I think the pair of you stride out of the room, and I think it's like familiar to both of you, as these are hallways you just walked through thousands of years in the past. But this place is a ruined, blasted husk of what it was. As you make your way out into the main passages down the corridors that would have led to the rooms of your friends, of your companions, of your family, as it were, this place is destroyed beyond recognition. There's rubble all over the place. Most of the rooms have actually been like completely caved in on top of themselves. Like it's kind of all you can do, climbing over rubble. There's points even where like Arnold, you have to duck, almost like crawling. Rin, given their height, it's easier for them to kind of walk up over these piles of rubbles to the low-hanging ceiling and out the other side. But you find yourselves like where the entry hall would be to the warden's hold. The doors gone, destroyed, no even semblance of them left here. There's a thick coating of ash, almost like snow, on the ground in front of you. But I think that you hear coming from outside the sound of chanting, of voices in harmony with one another, singing, chanting, calling magics. And I think Arnold, whatever part of you might linger in your neural net processor that was going through the Druberty transition before this endeavor began, there's some like twinge of recognition to the sounds of this song that you hear coming from outside.
Okay. Great. And do I know what is what the meaning of it is?
Yes, I think as you listen, like focusing in, you hear that I am no singer, so I shall not.
Oh, come
But I
on,
think
Rin.
that you hear the words as they are calling, and it's this song where they're calling to the past. They're calling to the old and magic. They're calling to the druids who came before and who came before that, and the ones who set the circles in motion in the beginning. And they're calling for help. They're calling to the world of Faerun for help. They're calling to the forest that is burned. They're calling to the mountains that are broken. They're calling to the sky that is poisoned and the rivers polluted, to fight with them and to open the way.
And I think Arnold steps forward, and the most talkative he has been since this whole adventure has begun. Though, despite their shorthand earlier, Rin shall need a translator. As Arnold opens up once again, and like his eyes, which are glowing, his posture stiffens up as he emits this noise of an oil tanker making the long trek across the ocean, where machine meets nature. He the steam releasing from the ship is what it sounds like as he calls out to the druids, who would hear Arnold saying, "The way has been opened. Help is here."
And I think that the song continues onwards, but as the pair of you like stand here for a moment after Arnold calls out into the night, you hear like a voice tentatively, like from the distance, like, "Are you there? Are you here? Has help arrived?"
And Rin probably that's not a druidic.
No, it's in common.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
then
the
yeah,
common
Rin
tongue.
responds just like, "Yeah, that would be us. Think we're here to help. I mean, we're definitely here to help. Not too sure where here is exactly, but are you Merrick?"
And I think it's at this point that as you're kind of peering out into the courtyard in front of the Warden's Hold, what used to be this, you see this figure coming up, like kind of shadowed. They're small. They're not like much taller than Rin as they start approaching. And I think you see what looks like this halfling girl, their hair like tied back in these kind of braids that cascade down around their shoulders and jangle a little bit from these beads and adornments that hang from them. And as they come a bit closer, you could see that there's this tattoo on like the side of their face that weaves down along their neck under like this very plain, worn, stained, like rough spun brown garments. And they hold this like simple wooden staff as they come. And I think they pause in the courtyard kind of hesitantly, like peering in, like, and you hear this whisper like, by the old gods, it's true. Oh, well met.
Oh, well met. Well, look at you all. I'm always a friend of the small folk.
My name is Maris. Maris Foxglove.
As Rin's also gonna look up at Arnold and be like, not quite Merrick. I'm pretty sure he said Merrick, right?
The word foxglove should really deeply register for Arnold, and perhaps like somewhere internally, like gear shifts. But outwardly, Arnold gives no signal that he recognizes this name.
And so I think that the figure like strides a little bit more closely and is like, I did not believe it could happen. They have been trying. They have been singing for days. They will not stop.
Well,
are you here from before the world was broken? Is it true?
Yep, very much so. Before the world reached this state, apparently. I'm Rin. This is Arnold, the Funforged. Usually a very chatty, amusing fellow. Seems to be going through some stuff, but we're here from some time ago. Not too sure how far. Time works weird, apparently. But this is clearly some sort of future state. What happened here? What happened to the world? What happened to the Hold?
Hold?
Oh, right. This structure used to hold many heroes back in the day.
This is the ruin that overlooks the burned forests and the undead fields to the east. I'm not sure. There are stories. It's hard to say what's true, though. Some of them argue about what actually happened, but... Well, you should come with me. I'm probably not best to explain this. Merrick left word. He was here.
Yes.
I think he's badly in danger.
That's who we're here to help. Merrick, lead the way. And can we see the city from where we are?
Okay, so now you guys come striding out of the gates of the place. Arnold, like, stoic, mission mode. Rin, like, following alongside this halfling, Maris. And so as she, like, leads you, you start, like, walking out, and there's this large, like, kind of vista normally up here near the Warden's Hold that sort of stretches down off the southern side of it, the entrance. There's winding pathway that used to lead up that you would be able to walk and look over the glory that is Glarendar. But as she kind of leads you out, you realize like the whole mountainside is like blasted. And as you start coming out, like there's this rain that's kind of falling, ash almost, like as you're watching the water like hit your armor and your hands, the rest of you see this like grime in the water as it's like gray. And they come like leading you a ways, and as you look down to where the city should be, I mean, it's like there's almost no recognition there ever was a city there. You see a field of like blackened ash in the night sky, and they walk ways with you. kind of turning and heading down like these blasted kind of like rock steps that bring you down to this massive vista where you see what look like a few almost like teepees, right? And fires burning, campfires. There's this huge kind of like sigil again that's been carved into the earth where it is, and you could see this group of what look like druids, as Arnold knows them, standing down towards the south, like singing, right? And yeah, as Maris kind of leads you out here, you see this one figure, an elf, like turn looking back, and I think you see their hand like over their mouth. They like audibly like are shocked as they stride forward towards you, and they're just like, "You've come." Well, he's a madman. It's hard to believe anything he says. He says that he came from the past and that others would come to help him. But my name is Moonbow. I'm called Diedrich Moonbow. We've been trying to just stay alive for all these years. The idea that help would come from the time before, that there was a time before, it's not an easy thing to believe in.
Well, what did you say, Diedrich Moonbow?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Diedrich Moonbow, phenomenal name, by the way. Your song has been answered. We are from the past, before times, and we have come here to help. Call enough for help, and someone will come, especially if the two of us are around.
That's a hard thing to believe. He told us to do all we could to conjure the old magic. The rift, and I think they point to the west. And I think like again, like you're orienting yourself to this landscape that you kind of know. It's dark, it's raining, it's really like kind of hard to like see very far visually, but you know what you would see out there before, right? And they point west and are just like the rift in the old burned forest. It's ripped open. It's growing wider. The druids say that if we don't shut it, that it will consume all the world. That what little is left, that might be reborn someday, will swallow everything. Merrick went alone to go fight the one that is tearing it open.
So something did this. Something opened a rift out in the forest and caused all of this destruction to happen.
Oh, the destruction was here from the day I was born, Ren, and I was born 200 years ago. The rift is newer, but, well, my mother always used to say it could be worse, and I don't think that we can endure much worse than this.
Well, if you need help closing that rift, if Merrick is out there, we'll certainly go help him to stop at least this much. And somehow stop all of this from coming to pass. Is there like places that Rin could just be like, that's where the Whip and Nene used to be. That's the place.
yes. I think as you like, they probably bring you the pair of them, Maris and Diedrich, like bring you up near the edge, and I think that the druids are still like singing. They're all like fixated. Their energy, their attention is fixated on one another. And as you approach again, Arnold, some part of you sees these stones that are like reminiscent of the Menhir stones, of the Foxglove's Menhir circle, from a time so long before, but a time that you just saw this afternoon. You know, like whatever broken pieces were left were carried up here. You know?
Yeah, and are the symbols druidic?
So this is like a great point as you're looking down. It's clearly a bird, and it is like a druidic style of symbol, but it doesn't have any specific meaning that you know, except that it is a bird.
Yeah.
Arnold does love birds.
Yeah,
checks
I think
out.
Probably like some like soft place that hopefully is still there is like walking the perimeter of the bird. just good morning, like trying to like dance along the edge to speak with animals so that he could speak to whatever this bird in the ground is. But that is not what Arnold is doing now. Arnold is just sort of like clocking it, like taking in all of the surroundings, just like very meticulously surveying absolutely everything, and while doing so, walking alongside Rin and the others.
And so I think that there's like scared faces peering out from inside these teepees that protect the people from the rain, the fires flickering, casting their dancing orange light around this place, their hiss as the water hits them. And I think that as you're walking, I think we hear Maris like turn and look to you, Rin, and she just kind of whispers like, Merrick said that the birds sent his messages for him. He said that it was important.
These birds, the ones drawn here, or actual birds?
This one drawn here, he told us what it should look like. He said it was one of the old marks, but he told us that the metal man would hear if the bird called. I don't know. He's a little bit damaged. She like does the thing next to her head. He's been through a lot. He's only got one eye. The other one's silver. You'll know him when you see him.
Oh, I'm sure he's what seems madness to some of us is probably sanity to the others. And Rin's gonna try and reach out to Arnold into his mind.
Okay.
To be like, if you're in there, we really need some help right now to know what this symbol is.
What would I need to do, Rich, to determine what the symbol is specifically? Any roll?
Make a gosh, this is good. Make just a straight up wisdom check. How about that?
Okay.
Okay, cool. With a 12, I think that as you're looking it over, you again, you don't have the specific mark before. It's not a thing you've seen before, but it's in the style of many of the druidic markings from the Eorwood, and you think to yourself, it like reminds you of rain, and yeah, you think to yourself that it is probably like the symbol of like an individual druid.
Yeah. I think that just the only thing that Rin is able to hear then as Arnold looks at it is just like sort of like the faint echo of Arnold's voice.
Rain.
Just like kind of like calling out to Rin.
Mm-hmm. And so I think it's at this point that Maris is like, I can't believe it. And Moonbow is like, he's going to be pressed now. He left a long time ago. I can help get you a little bit closer, but I can't take you all the way.
We wouldn't ask you all to put yourselves in that sort of danger. That's what we're here for. Always charging in. Always worked out for us before. Mostly. It says mostly under their breath. If you could take us, that'd be great. But before you do, Rin sees some of the people, I guess, sticking their heads out. And it's probably just like, I don't fully know what happened here, and I don't know what happened to this place. This used to be an incredible city, the likes of which you probably have never seen before. And I don't know if we could ever restore that part of it. But whatever's happening here, whatever that rift is doing, I promise you we're going to stop it.
I've already seen things that I couldn't believe to be true tonight, but that's a big statement.
Well,
I want
let's give
to believe.
You one last thing to see then. Hey, some hope. And
I want to believe, he says. And I think with a glance at the druids and then a look to Arnold, he's like, come, I'll show you the way.
And yeah, I think Rin will follow, in which case Arnold will probably follow.
Yeah, for sure.
And so Arnold, I think as you're going, I think it's like, Arnold, you're going, right? And I know like you're probably not likely to like glance back per se, but like before you do, or actually it's like they lead you across this kind of structure that's jutting out off the side of the mountain.
Yeah.
And you can see there's a path of stairs like down the other side that will bring you down underneath this winding trail, bringing you down towards the sea level of the ground, as it were. And I think as you're coming down the stairs, your body is physically turned, so you're looking back at where you came from. You do this 180, and you just see the halfling girl like waving at you as you go, Arnold.
And I do think like Arnold like kind of looks at the halfling girl, and where he would enthusiastically wave back with a huge good morning in the past. I think that there is like a flicker of like the red light in his eyes that like kind of like indicates acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
Like not like eerily, not frighteningly, not necessarily warmly, but like kind of agnostically, objectively, it's acknowledgement.
Okay. And so I think that, yeah, with that, like, this fellow, Moonbow, Dietrich Moonbow, is kind of leading you. And he starts to talk as you're following this twisting trail down the edge of the mountain that seems like blasted and burned. Now that you're, like, looking at the side of the rock, and, like, everything is blackened and charred. There's, like, this ashy rain falling. And the rain starts to thin by the time you've gotten to the bottom. And Moonbow just says, there are still some roads and trails. There are those yet who travel these places freely, though most are dangerous. And, well, that's why we're all the way up there. It's at least defensible back in the caves. But if you follow this path straight to the west, you'll find an obelisk, a convergence of many roads. And he says, from there, just drive further to the west. Take the westernmost path from that. It will lead you. You can't miss the rift. They say that, well, when my grandfather was alive, there were still trees out there, but now it's not but a field of ash, really. Broken buildings, ancient things long destroyed. Merrick, well, he went that way. It was earlier, when the sun was still up. Not much of a sun to speak of, but...
Merrick, how long has he been here?
Oh, must be 6 years now. When he came, he said he was sent, I don't know, it's very confusing, but he said that there was something he has to do, but he can't yet. And then, when the rift opened, well, most of us are too scared, too weak to do anything about it. We could throw our lives at the problem, but we're not fighters, most of us. But he is. He's a hard man. He's seen some hard things. I mean, she told you he's only got the one eye. The other one, it's kind of like his. She points at Arnold, or he points at Arnold, and he's like, he wouldn't stand for it. And he said that even if it meant that he would fail at the thing he has to do someday, he can't let this abide.
Well, you shouldn't feel bad about not being able to throw your lives away at this. You shouldn't throw your lives away. You did what you could. You all kept each other safe as best as you can, and hey, you brought us here, so that's something. So don't feel too bad.
It's a hell of a thing. A story, I guess. I hope you can find him. And I think he stops now, and you realize, like, at this point, you're walking through, like, what should be Glarendar, and it's just this blasted, barren landscape.
It's a very walkable apocalypse.
Yeah, it is. It's a very
if anything,
walkable
it's a much
apocalypse.
more walkable city now.
And so, like, leading out to the west is, like, this one kind of road. The rain has finally died away, and he's like, hasn't stopped raining in weeks. That's something, at least. This is as far as I go. I hope that I'll see you both again.
I hope so too, but, you know, chin up that it's all going to turn out all right.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing us this way.
Well, the hope, I mean. It's, well, a meal that we'll try to savor. Good luck.
See you
So,
soon.
with that, he like turns and starts like striding back towards the mountains, and the pair of you head to the west.
To the west, into the west.
Mm.
Into the
Bum,
west. How's that song go?
Yep.
So I think that you walk for a time. It's very similar kind of time frame to the walk that you took into the city tonight as you're like striding westwards, right? And so like the rain having settled, there's this really kind of like gray, thick ash. It's almost like grease now at this point, like layered all over everything. It's pretty disgusting. But as you're walking for a time, finally you see in like the dim light of the night this obelisk like jutting up out of the road very clearly. And I think it's as the pair of you are like approaching it that you see this man, what looks like a human man, wrapped in furs, like perched up on kind of a cliff just off in front of you, past the obelisk, as it were. And I think that they call out to you like, "Hey, well met, travelers."
Hello there. How are you? What are you doing all the way out here?
Most excellent indeed. I'm waiting for you. You're the ones who came to help me, aren't you?
Does he have a silver eye?
No.
Are you Merrick?
Yes, absolutely.
Are you sure?
Oh, I'm positive.
Uh,
I'm so glad I sent for aid and
Can
you've
I,
come to help me.
roll that check. Is it perception? How do you detect lies?
It's insight. Insight would be
Insight.
like read the person, and I'm gonna give it to you with advantage. You know?
Cool.
I mean, the truth is, like, you know, he's not. I mean, you
Right.
think, like, you don't know who to believe, I guess, compared to the other people. But like, go ahead, roll an insight check.
Cool. 10 and 10. Awesome.
Can I simultaneously, with my telepathic feat, can
Mhm.
Arnold cast detect thoughts on this individual?
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
You want to click detect thoughts? Just drop it in the
yes,
chat
of
for me. Let's see
course.
what's going on here.
Yes. So for the duration, you can read the thoughts of certain creatures. When you cast this, and the duration is up to a minute of concentration. If the creature you choose an intelligence of 3 or lower, it's going to be unaffected. Initially, I will learn the surface thoughts of the creature, what's most on its mind at that moment. But as an action, I can shift my attention to another creature or attempt to probe deeper, which is likely what I will do.
As you read the surface thoughts, I think the surface thoughts are like shock and surprise to have found you here, but recognition at seeing you. Not Rin, you.
Got it. I will probe deeper.
Okay, and so wisdom saving throws shall be rolled.
Yes, and I don't know what the DC on that is. It says spell save DC 0, which cannot
That's
possibly
not right.
be true.
So if you, on the back of your sheet, if you click for your casting, I can actually fix it for you
Sure.
right now. It should be 13.
Yep.
Of which you hit an impasse, Arnold. You cannot probe any deeper.
Yeah. But those surface thoughts, I detected that it doesn't know Rin at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I think that Arnold telepathically, like, if we can, like, with some flavor here,
Yeah, we
I
can.
think, like, what Arnold is basically doing is, like, amplifying those exact surface thoughts from this man to himself and then to Rin. So, like, he's, like, kind of, like, serving as, like, a conduit. So, like, he detects the thoughts of the guy, and then, like, the mechanic is that, like, telepathically I'm going to convey all of the information that I just gleaned from this guy to Rin. But the way that Rin, you will receive that is basically, like, Arnold being almost like a satellite.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Signal for Peter.
So
Yeah.
Rin knows everything that that Rich just said.
Perfection. Yeah, Rin smirks up at Arnold, and then keeping the smirk turns over to the person up there, and is just like, "And you said you're sure you know us?"
Why, of course, of course. This is Arnold, right? That's what they call him now?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Very good. Very good. So, quick follow-up though. What's my name?
You're Arnold's friend.
Well, that's accurate, but not quite the answer we're looking for.
Well, I mean, I didn't know specifically your name per se, but...
Rin's gonna take one step forward. Well, if you want to keep talking, we certainly can. You can come down here and we can have a whole conversation.
Oh, assuredly. Assuredly.
Oh, never mind. Okay, got it. How often am I able to cast this spell?
Your detect thoughts from
Yeah.
your telepathy ability.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, I believe it is once per long rest.
Got it. Okay.
So this should be that, and then, yep, once per long rest
Great.
is going to be the deal.
Cool.
Yep.
Rin is gonna ready to pull their shield if necessary, but not their sword.
Yes. So I think that at this point, you hear him like, actually, I've also invited some friends. Perhaps you would come with me and meet them. They're just this way to the south.
Well, unfortunately, that's not quite the direction we're going. See, we're headed somewhere else entirely, but you should have known that, wouldn't you?
What are you heading that other direction for? Only to the south. That's where my problem is. You can help me to the south. Old Mescalant.
I'm sorry, what? Is that a name?
The
or a
city
town?
down there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. To the south, though. You'll come with me, right, Arnold? To the south.
Now, can Arnold perceive whether or not? Can I roll perception to see whether or not this guy is lying?
Yeah, roll an insight check with advantage because you probed his thoughts.
An 18.
18.
Nice.
Oh, he's so full of shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Full of
think
shit.
I think Arnold telepathically communicates to Rin a single word. Lying.
If that's a reference, I think it is.
It
I'm
is.
very happy.
We
I think
are
that at this
we've
point-
embarked on quite the saga.
Mm.
Rin, do you respond?
To Arnold.
Mhm.
I think they'll just say it mentally, like, "Thank you for confirming. Appreciate it."
And, right, it's at this point that the pair of you hear in your minds, like, they sent me for this job, and I didn't want to do it, but now we get to do it the fun way, don't we? Idiots. And at that point, the man jumps off the cliff and comes flying at you, his form
I'm gonna take my
melting
shield
away
out.
as
Yeah, I
you
think Arnold will
see
snap into a rage instantly.
what appears to be a titanic gorilla-like monstrosity with this blue leathery chest and this horrific monstrous kind of visage. Yeah, go ahead and roll initiative.
I would think this would look really cool if it wasn't trying to apparently kill us.
Oops, sorry, I didn't put that in the thing, but that is
Okay. 12 for me as well.
Rin, you may make an arcana or a religion check to see if you recognize this entity.
Sweet. Can you throw me into the initiative
do that
order?
to
I
both
forgot
of
to
us.
click my
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yep.
Arcana.
And for the people at home, yeah, it looks like it kind of looks sort of like Optimus Primal in Beast mode.
Oh
but
my
But like
gosh.
season 3, when he was sort of in the orange and blue, sort of metallic mode, but furry. So not the metallic quality. I know a lot of Beast Wars fans out there in the crowd, so just tossing it out for them.
That is an accurate description, though. It is absolutely the Beast
I was
Wars
a
logo.
Beast Wars super fan, and nothing would delight me more than to do a Beast Wars podcast, but no one will listen to it. I would go all the way from Beast Wars through Beast Machines, and it would be lit. But no one is
Through
here for it.
Beast Machines.
Yeah, Beast Machines
and
was
it
wild.
would be lit.
Beast Machines was wild. The
Unreal,
techno-organic
dude.
stuff was insane.
Unreal.
Rat Trap dated a plant. This is true. This is a real thing.
Okay, bear with me 1 second here. I just got to tweak my thing.
I obviously do not recognize this thing. In
Yes.
fact, I can barely acknowledge it's a monkey.
It's actually Son Goku.
We're in real trouble. We got to get the hell out of here.
It's Vegeta. Back it up. Guy's got problems.
Yeah, I think Arnold like surveys this thing, says his power levels are over 9,000.
It's pretty hilarious, actually. Okay, here we go. I got that fixed. I got my problem fixed. Yeah, this is the entity for those who are curious. Here, I'll show you guys this. It's going to give you too much information. Don't read all the stuff. It's huge. It's like twice as big as Arnold is. It's got like these tusks jutting up underneath it, these bands around its fists, its arms much longer than its legs, these disgusting kind of proportions or whatever. And yeah, with that, it like comes smashing, like leaping off of the cliff. And it's actually as this is happening that you hear it like cry this word out, like, "To me!" That's more than a word, I realize. And yeah, like scurrying out from behind these like ash covered plants behind you, you guys see a couple of like these hideous looking, wretched little, they're like the size of you, Rin, but they look like rotting corpses that are kind of like disfigured as they start like surging towards you, lesser demons. And so yeah, on 20, this thing's gonna go. It comes like smashing down off the cliff after jumping. It is going to make its attacks. It proceeds to try to punch you, Arnold.
Okay, and just to be clear, he's raging from when this thing leaped off, when it leapt off.
Okay, got it. It goes to punch, and punch again.
Oh, nice.
12 and 9 are both misses. It's like, Arnold, you dodge one punch, the second one like bong, as he like just slams into your head, and it's just, you hear its voice in your mind like, we're going to have to play tough then, and it tries to bite you. 22, that hits. For 12 points of damage, reduced to 6 because you're raging. And it's at this point that these crappy little dead things come like charging in at the pair of you. One for Rin, one for Arnold. For Rin and for Arnold, they attack. I got a 13 for Rin. That's a miss. You feel this thing's claws hit your armor on your back, dragging down the wooden breastplate given to you by the wards of Oakstone. 18.
Got this recently.
Does 18 hit you, Arnold?
It does.
Okay, so you feel like this like crunching of wood as one of them like grabs at your leg from behind. You take 7 points of damage, reduced to 3. That's their turn. Arnold, you're up just before Rin is.
Arnold is going to ka-chunk his great sword from off of his back, and he is going to turn right around and swing it at this stupid idiot that is just behind him. And he is going to do that
Stupid
with 22.
Yeah, that hits.
Those rolls.
For 18.
You just like whoosh, the sword rips through this thing, and it like flares up to ash, almost like those like snakes you used to get on the 4th of July. Like, this ash like hits the ground, just kind of melding with all the rest of it. That's your first attack.
And so then Arnold will step forward, and like he swung behind him, almost like sort of like everything he's doing seems almost like thoughtless, as he is then going to attack the gigantic Optimus Primal looking dude, except total Predacon, definitely not a Maximal, and he is going to recklessly attack this bozo. I hit that twice.
That's fine. 21 hits. Unfortunately, no crit.
For 13 points of damage.
For 13 points of damage as you cleave into him, and it like this like black blood pouring out as you slice through the fur on one of its biceps. And I think it like looks down at its arm, bleeding this black blood, and just smiles back at you like, well, at least you're a challenge. Arnold, that was your action. That was your bonus action. Or That's it. Rin,
well,
you're up.
yeah, I think I'll move. Can I like pivot around it? So
Yeah, you sure can.
Yeah, just in
as long
case.
as you don't leave its threat range, you can move
For
in
sure.
a circular
Yeah. So I'm
fashion.
like circling around it, and I'll. Is this like right next to it where I am?
Yep, sure is. Yep.
So just in case Rin is able to take care of this guy
Yeah.
he's dealing with or they're dealing with right now, and then it's gonna
Rin-
be able to dip down.
Okay,
Yeah.
Rin, you are up. You are not hasted any longer, unfortunately.
yeah.
The magic has worn away.
That makes sense. Yeah, Rin's gonna take a swing with the longsword at the one, the lesser, smaller one, first, and hopefully hit 13.
13 hits.
Ah, sweet. All right, 13 hits, and then
It's really a lesser demon, yeah.
sweet, and then hit with longsword for what is that? 13 damage.
Points of damage. Rin, similarly to Arnold, you're a much smaller sword wielded with perhaps a little bit more precision than his reckless blows. You like drive the blade out straight through the midsection of this thing, like yanking it back up as you rip it apart, and it just melts into this ash, like falling to the ground, like this like dark snow. That's your action, Rin.
We'll use
movement bonus.
movement to flank. And just also say, like, it doesn't really have to go this way. You could just carry on doing what you're doing here.
Oh, I'll carry on. This is what I do here, little goblin. And
Not a
it's gonna
goblin.
punch for you, Rin. These demons got no respect. 17 is a miss.
Yep.
I think Furious, it tries to bite your head off, Rin. Well, that's unfortunate that was not.
Oh, is it unfortunate?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a
Yeah.
little sad.
Rich with the bloodlust.
13 misses as it's like jaws snap down.
Rich
and,
almost natural 20'd on saying he bites your head off.
Yep.
Just so folks are aware.
That would have been
And
not
so
great.
with that, it throws one more punch at Arnold with the other hand while it's like standing fighting both of you. 22 does hit. If I would have attacked Arnold, it would have been a crit for 10 points of bludgeoning damage. Reduced to 5 as you are raging. That's its turn, Arnold. You're up.
Arnold is just going to keep swinging
Wail
at
this
this
thing.
thing. Yeah, like he hasn't stopped this whole time.
Yeah, this is just this relentless flurry of attacks. That's a miss, even though you're flanking with advantage of 13 misses.
Just hits past him. The 19.
19 does hit. The second attack as it's like wheeling back at Rin now. You like stab the sword out, hammering into its ribs for 16 points of damage. And at this point, it makes like an audible sound of like, Arnold, that's your action, bonus action, anything else?
Nothing. Yeah, so Arnold, like,
Rin.
is just like sort of like wordlessly going through the motions of a fight. That one attack missed. The timing was off with the punch. But undeterred by the hit, Arnold is just like kind of like emotionlessly able to just like arc the greatsword back up and take a chunk of arm off.
Rad. Rin, you are
Yeah,
up.
I'll take a swing. I keep forgetting to use my armor. If it swings at me again, I can take a shot. But yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so yeah, Rin will take a swing with their long sword.
Mhm.
Oh, and it is with advantage.
Wow.
Oh man.
All the dice get doubled, Kevin. All the dice get doubled.
Yeah, I'm tempted. I'm tempted to burn my last spell slot to Divine Smite, but I'll save it just in case. I'll save
Okay.
it.
It's
Almost.
not an unreason. It's not a bad choice. This is what paladins like to affectionately call crit fishing, because the paladin is allowed to choose to divine smite after the attack
Correct.
hits. So for any of you paladins out there that are not smiting on your crits, you're doing it wrong. You're up, Rin.
Well,
With
if
the damage,
if-
roll damage. I'm not telling you to do it now. You're walking into a burned out ancient forest. You preserve your resources as you see fit. Go ahead and roll
Are we
your
not going to get a
longsword
chance
damage.
to maybe like sit outside, assess the situation? Could
my
be.
spells,
maybe.
it would have to be a long rest
Yeah,
to
all
get
right.
all my spell slots back.
Fair enough.
So,
Fair enough.
Or Josh preemptively short rest advocating. I love it.
Yeah.
Love to see it.
Short rest, yeah. I mean, like we could see what that. I don't think that actually does much, but it's still fine. Okay, yeah. Sorry. Rolling attack, and it'll automatically add it, right? Because it's.
It will double itself. Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's 17
19.
plus 2 is 19 points of
Sweet.
damage. Incredible. Mm-hmm.
And that is, I think, it. And as always, we'll just be like, still take a chance and just leave. Always an option.
I will leave when you are destroyed. It attacks back recklessly. Now it's going to attack you with advantage. So here's a fist for Rin.
No,
14
and I will
misses.
now burn Armor of Insight, one of my charges, to ask one of its damage vulnerabilities.
Gosh, it has no damage vulnerabilities.
Okay, that's fine. Well, it doesn't seem to have any immediate weaknesses, just FYI. Shouting out to Arnold.
Affirmative.
Yep. With that, it will take a second punch at you, Rin, with advantage for its recklessness.
That does
Oops.
hit.
That does hit. 22 hits for. You take 13 points of bludgeoning damage. And now it will try to bite you recklessly.
Again with the biting.
Yeah, it's very mad at you, and it's realizing Arnold's going to take a little more time. 25
That does
hits for another 11 points of piercing damage.
Owie.
As it like buries its teeth down like around your head, and you are able to like smash it with the sword in one hand. Do you have your shield out? Yeah, and like the shield on the other, and like you drive it off pretty quickly, but it has like bit you on the side of the head, like black blood, I believe, running down the side of Rin's face. That's the Balrog. Arnold, you're up.
I think as its back is to Arnold, Arnold is just like stabbing forward for any soft spots that he can possibly target with his greatsword. So for 21, I assume that's going to be a
21
hit.
hits. Yep.
For 11 points of damage, as he's going to like make that slash, and just like the motions continue for Arnold as he just like hacks again for 15.
15 hits. That's its armor class.
Yes. So with 15, just like sinks the great sword into like the back of this crazy primate's meaty thighs. Getting him in the meaty thighs.
As the crazy primate is like wheeling on Rin, Arnold like drives the blade into the meaty thighs, perhaps some part of him thinking affectionately of his friend Grandel.
Yes.
And it's like,
just wait till it presents its snoot.
I think that you hear this voice in your minds, the pair of you, as it is banished, like, I will find you in your time and destroy you then. As it is banished from this realm.
With the first hint of personality, Arnold will hold his greatsword out and say, "Hasta la vista, baby," as he magnetizes his greatsword onto his back.
Okay, and so you two are standing here, this thing destroyed, clearly a demon. Like everything you seem to be fighting in this hellscape, it has been banished.
Seems demonic. That's great. Because I could have critted it massively. Oh well. Yeah, and once the fight's over and Arnold makes a joke, Rin does like smile and like kind of like drop down for a moment to one knee, sword supporting them, and yeah, just gonna do a lay on. Yeah, well, I guess I don't know. Would Arnold take a short rest?
Arnold will. Arnold is Rin asking?
Well, this is, I guess, out of character. I'm trying to. God damn it!
We can talk out of character for a second. This is a thing that's allowed.
You get the sense that Arnold is a Fun Forged returned to Warforged, and is a Warforged on a mission, and is here to complete it as efficiently and as successfully as possible. And the mission for Arnold, if you've been like telepathically scanning him, I think that probably the things that you are gathering are just like sort of like mission-oriented thoughts, or like centrally focused in whatever accounts for his mind. And it's like Find Merrick, help Merrick, follow Rin, protect Rin.
Yeah. All right. I gotta stick to character, and while I think the logical probably thing is to short rest normally, Rin knows that someone is in danger, this world is in danger, and a rift is open, and if they dilly-dally, even to rest, that could spell disaster for others. So Rin, while on one knee, gonna place a hand on their chest, and might as well go for it, because I'm gonna need it. I'm not looking great. Burn out, lay on hands for all 20.
That's 20 HP back to Rin as their blessing fills them up. Okay, so the pair of you, Ren, you like heal yourself with the magic afforded to you by your oath.
And
Arnold has slain demons.
Mm-hmm. Ren, feeling better, like hops back up. Is like, oh, all right, much better. Let's see, what was it? West, right? Indeed. And we'll start leading the way west.
Okay. And so you stride. No short rests for these two. Okay.
Probably a mistake.
Oh, 100%, but gotta stick with character.
I mean, in character, like, you were getting that, like, he would rest with you, for sure.
I know, but, like,
yeah.
Rin knows that someone's in danger and all that jazz. They would not
all right.
spend the hour.
Let's really mess up the timeline and kill Arnold before he goes to Thay.
You'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
I'm only a little bit terrified of what happens next.
Oh, great.
I mean, there is a world in which, like, kidding. Arnold just, like, kind of, like, doesn't move and just, like, sort of, like, stops down for a beat to short rest. But I guess we don't live in that world. Okay, let's just keep going.
Okay, let's.
Oh, God. I love making bad decisions because my character is reckless and stuff like this.
Oh, yeah, I mean, who you talking to over here? They call me Suicide Vest for a reason.
True, very true.
Yeah, I feel you, my friend.
I mean, except I don't want to die.
No, I didn't either. I mean, that was the irony there. It's not an accurate moniker, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, with that, the pair of you stride west. And I think that walking, again, like you're walking through like this kind of blasted landscape, there's something very strange about all of this in the sense that like you've been here before many times. You're walking the very road that you walked in on tonight, as it were. And so, striding for a time, you see this ash everywhere, ruins, rocks jutting out, the topography of what was once covered by the Yorewood kind of stretching out around you. And it's at this point that you hear like yells kind of in the distance. You can't quite make them out, but if the two of you were to like accelerate your pace and start like hustling a little bit, you hear the sounds of steel on steel, clang, clang, clang. Both of you, veterans of many battles, I think that you recognize this is not the sound of some great war being fought, but a duel of two souls, two swords ringing against each other in this like bleakly quiet place. For while there is no forest here, there appear to be no birds either, a thing disconcerting to the Arnold who walked through this portal, but perhaps not affecting the one who races towards danger now. And so I think as you guys come running up, you see this kind of like purplish light beginning to wash over you. You see the rubble and ruin of broken buildings around you. Some part of you, Arnold, recognizes that the place where you arrive, the distance you have walked from the Warden's Hold, is precisely the distance you would walk to get to the Menhir Circle at the Foxglove Farm. Yep. And as you are racing up, you see these two figures locked in battle. One of them wearing a cloak that might have been green once. It looks burned and tattered around them.
Oh,
their back is to you, and they have a long sword in their hands. The other one is like garbed in black, cloth flowing all around them with every movement that they make. And they also hold a longsword clutched tightly with two hands on the hilt as the pair of you come running up. These two figures battle desperately, but as you're kind of like running down the road, out in front of you leap these two vaguely humanoid figures. They are wretched and disgusting looking, like almost bits of body parts stitched together.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Wait, cue gross. GIF.
Yeah. Yeah. It's literally
that
like
is
almost,
just
it feels
gross.
like it might have been made from wax as some type of interpretation of like if you turned a human being inside out and then started attaching mouths in places they didn't belong. It is truly a horrific sight to look upon, and they like leap out into the path in front of you, intercepting your route to this man in battle, just like making no audible language, but like and yeah, with that we will roll initiative.
Great.
Just say like, no time to dilly dally on this one. Just gonna start swinging.
Perhaps for the last time ever. No, I'm just kidding.
It's not impossible.
Yeah, it's not impossible, Rich. As you jinx us.
Yeah.
Oops, that was entirely the wrong guy that I just rolled that initiative for.
Man,
This is great,
Josh,
though.
you are just rocking 20s tonight.
Affirmative.
Affirmative. Uh-huh.
Oh, I didn't do it again. I gotta remember to click my token. Sorry.
That's fine. I got you. What did you get for initiative, Kevin?
You got an 11.
11.11.
11.11.
One.
Nice. That's a lucky number.
Ones a couple of times.
11.
That's a highly lucky number. Arnold, you go one fraction, an infinitesimal moment before these waxy demons do.
Yes.
What would you like to do?
Arnold.
Both of them.
Arnold will immediately like spring into battle with a bloodier shade of red to his eyes to signal his activation of rage. He will walk. He will stride towards the one to the left, and he shall recklessly cleave his greatsword at the creature.
Mm-hmm.
For 20.
20 hits.
For 15 points of damage.
Nice.
Are you still raging?
Yes. I just
Okay.
reactivated it as my bonus.
Got it.
Is
got
that
it,
your
got
last
it. I'm just
rage?
double
It
checking.
is.
Okay.
15, you like cut into it like this huge arcing slash. It is not quite down, though it like staggers back and is like barely kind of held up by the wall behind it, like reaching out this
Love
arm
that
with
sound.
the mouth on the
Yeah.
end of it. Yeah.
With a second slash, he goes once again recklessly.
Mhm.
For 11.
11, unfortunately.
Yeah, so it's just like cutting air.
That's a hit.
it
That's
is.
its AC.
Oh, wonderful. Incredible.
Amazing.
For 10 points of damage.
And with that, you stab back into it, and it is gone, vanished. Oops, I removed this guy from the turn order. Arnold, that's your turn.
Is it?
I don't know.
Is
That
it?
was your action.
That
You
was
still
my
have movement and a
action. That
bonus
was my
action.
bonus, and Arnold has further movement, and Arnold moves up behind this monster to set Rin up for the flanking alley-oop.
Excellent choice. I forgot you're higher level. I thought you were going to run out of rages. That's where I was really scared. I'm not scared anymore. Now I'm going to like give you both barrels fully. This thing lances out, punching at you, Arnold.
Rich.
It does, but you made a reckless attack, so attacks against your advantage. 14 misses, though?
14 misses.
14 misses. Okay, cool. With that, these two figures are like fighting. And I think that it's at this point that they like rotate around. You see that the man in like the greenish cloak has like this kind of brownish beard, the cowl like falling way back, and there's like this silver light radiating around his face as he's like fighting and spinning around this thing. And I think really quickly he like glances towards you. And there's just like this quiet curse of like, by the gods. Rin, you're up on 11. 11.
How is that guy looking?
Bad. He's bleeding badly. It's like he's pressed. This other thing is like moving like lightning fast, hammering against him, and he's like doing all he can to kind of hold it back.
I know Arnold set me up, but Arnold, I feel like I should go help this other guy.
Do whatever Rin's gonna do.
You do what Ren's got to do.
Yeah, Bryn does think that Arnold will be able to handle this smaller thing and is going to. I should actually check my movement.
Because I can get to that guy in my next turn for sure.
Yeah, I can't get there quite yet.
Kill this thing,
And
and
also,
then
if you do
kill
this,
that guy.
this thing's going to take an attack of opportunity at you. You would have to move wide around it. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay, so then yeah, I guess Rin will run up and flank and attack.
6-second bursts, like
Yeah.
we're making our way.
you come like charging up. Go ahead. You can make an attack roll with advantages. Arnold circled around this little waxy demon creature. 16 hits. Roll damage.
11.
11 points of damage. You like slash into it. It's still up, but though it again like it stumbles into the wall. It's badly hurt just from that one blow. Rin, that's your movement. That's your action. You have more movement and a bonus.
No bonus. So yeah, that's where I'll end.
Okay.
Okay,
Hope that I don't really have bonus actions.
no problem. Merrick goes.
Oh boy.
I think he like turns like and he just like screams like, "If you've come to help me, then help me! Finish that thing!"
Working on it, mate.
Yes, so he is effectively using his bonus action to give you, Rin, an attack roll, wherein this is why I was mixing up this with Kamari before, wherein you can make an attack roll +3 to hit.
Oh, I can automatically.
As your reaction, it would be your reaction to do it. Yeah.
Oh.
You don't have to, but you're allowed to if you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
Swinging longsword. Thank God for that 14. 14 hit.
Yeah, it's 11.
14
AC.
does hit.
Okay,
yes.
great. And so it's +3, right?
Mhm.
15.
Oh yeah.
Deceased.
You like cleave out, destroying this little waxy thing that like melts away with this like stinking sulfurous kind of gas. And with that,
Appreciate the
homeboy
encouragement.
goes 23 and 13 misses. He does like manage to catch his opponent once with like one
For a hot
slash.
second, I thought you said 23 misses, and I'm like, we're in trouble.
That would be bad.
That would be very
wouldn't
bad.
Yeah.
it? Okay, the enemy goes.
Oh, boy. I always like when someone's called the enemy.
Patrick Fugit goes.
Yeah.
Patrick Fugit's here.
Oh wow, the enemy rolled terribly
God.
too.
6 nightmare. What does that mean?
He does lash out though, doing 6 points of nightmare damage to this guy. I don't know.
All
I don't
good
know.
signs.
What
He's
is
called the
that
enemy.
mean?
He does
Wait,
nightmare damage.
so let me just understand this. He attacked Merrick twice with a longsword.
3 times actually. He's making 3 attacks
Got
around.
it.
Yep.
Okay, great. And one of them dealt nightmare damage.
Yep. That's correct. It's nightmare
Is that
damage.
a specific type of damage in Dungeons and Dragons that I'm just learning
It's a
about?
It's a specific type of damage in Dungeons and Dragons and Discord
Okay.
that you're just learning
Great.
about.
Wonderful. Terrifying, as it should be, as the name implies.
Feels pretty terrifying, right? And then he's going to use his bonus action to make an additional attack. Oh my god. He's rolled so badly.
Good.
Oh well.
Four-
That's
four
his turn.
attacks. That's awesome.
And just to
Mhm.
clarify, this thing that Rin and I are fighting is deceased.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay, great. So I think Arnold at this point, and I believe I have measured this out.
Mhm.
Yep,
You have.
got it. He's going to stomp, 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 stomp. This is flanking or no? Does this count or no? Not quite.
No, not quite.
So
You
I
have to
don't-
go another
I don't
step.
have the other step. All right. So Arnold will then proceed to recklessly chop into this this hooded creature that up close, does Arnold have any sense of what this thing looks like? What this
Arnold,
creature looks
as you come racing up to this enemy that stands before this man, cloth flails all about it. It holds this longsword in its hand that gleams with this silvery light, and as it turns, looking back at you, you realize it is not a fleshy face that peers at you from under the cowl of this. It is a face made of metal, with eyes gleaming red.
What?
It is black metal all around it. Its hands are metal.
Uh-huh.
It is not armor. It is metal and wood.
Oh.
Incredible. Arnold emotionlessly will chop into this Shadow Arnold recklessly.
Well, he will certainly try. Go for it. Make attack with advantage. Cool toy.
6.
26 hits. His armor class is not a 26, Kevin. Be encouraged.
14
points of damage.
begin.
Second attack.
Recklessly. For 20.
That hits. Does it hit? Yeah, that hits.
13.
Yeah, that okay. 13 more points of damage. The sounds as your blade connects with this thing are reminiscent of the sounds of your enemy's weapons falling upon you, Arnold. Arnold, that was your action, your movement. Is that it?
I believe that is going to have to be it. Yes.
Okay, Rin, you're up.
Yeah. So Rin is going to move to 30 feet. Boop, boop.
Mhm.
Not quite get there, but how's not Arnold looking?
Great.
Yeah, cool.
Robotic.
30 feet of movement, and then we'll run their hand across the blade of their sword to channel divinity, blue energy glowing across it in lines. And that is what I can do for now. It's also, 20 feet of bright light, 20 feet of dim light. It's now a magic weapon, and I get a bonus to my attack rolls.
Indeed, you do. This is very, very impressive, Ren. As you're using your Oath of Devotion channel divinity,
Correct.
is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. Your sacred weapon.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Merrick goes. He swings twice at this thing, and I think that, those things both miss. I think that he's just like looking past this thing at you, Arnold. This one silver eye, like glaring at you. The other one, this like blue scar across his face, and there's like this recognition as you see this man, and he's just like, what the fuck? He makes his attack and misses, at which point the enemy will go. Yep, the enemy goes for Merrick.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, it does hit. He plunges the sword out, like cutting Merrick heavy in the chest, and then with the second attack, he very lightly, you see him, he's not like swinging with powerful force, he's not like using overwhelming strength, he like punches the sword out into Merrick's chest, and then very lightly and delicately almost, he like backhands and flips down, and he cuts Merrick's hand off.
wow.
At which point Merrick falls off this rock, landing over here in like this little area, and yep, that's what happens there. This guy turns,
Merrick is
wheeling
dead.
on
Merrick
you.
is dead.
Well, I don't know.
You put an X
He does
on it,
have a
please.
big red X on him on the map. There's blood pouring out of the stump where his hand was. He's laying on the ground next to you, but the enemy is not dead, and it turns looking at you, Arnold, and yeah, he uses his bonus action right here, which is going to be to cast a blinding
dear
smite,
God.
and then he's going to make his last attack at you, Arnold.
Right.
That's a critical
For a
one.
critical one.
That's a critical one. So he misses wildly. at you.
terrified of
That's
me.
his. Yeah, that's his bonus action. That's his action. Arnold, you're up on 20.
Arnold's going to recklessly slap back.
Wait, you did recklessly attack him
Oh,
last time.
I did.
Jesus.
Yes, it's true. So I get it.
Oh,
So
no.
it hits. It hits. It
So
absolutely hits.
actually,
Yep.
this 25 hits. So you take 15 points of nightmare damage. Plus, I need you to make a con save.
Now, is that reduced, or is nightmare damage rich speak for psychic
Nightmare damage can be reduced. It's
Okay.
not psychic
Okay.
damage. It could be reduced. That's only 7 points of nightmare damage due to your monster
Great,
raging.
fantastic.
But I need you to make a con saving throw. and then I'm going to roll a bunch of radiant damage
14.
as this blinding smite hits you.
Oh,
So it's 7 nightmare damage, 7 radiant damage, and fortunately for you, let me just double check my spell save. You are not blinded, Arnold.
Great. That's good news, you know?
It is,
Ultimately.
and now it's your
Great.
turn.
And I'm going to recklessly slash back
Yes.
for 26.
26 hits.
For 16 points of damage.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to recklessly slash again for 15,
Uh-huh.
which is not going to hit.
That does not hit. Kang!
Yeah.
The armor like hits the metal of this creature. No avail.
Yeah, I think telepathically, Arnold is going to signal to Rin in like a voice that is closer to the Arnold who Rin was traveling with earlier. They will hear in their head the good berries that Arnold dumped upon Rin's head earlier.
Yep. Yep.
There are 5 of them.
Excellent.
Rin, it's your turn on 11.11.
Great. So Rin is gonna rush forward to be here between Arnold and this dude. And sorry, is Goodberry an action or a bonus action?
Would be an action to feed somebody else.
Fuck it.
with
Yeah,
a
I mean,
good
Rin's
berry.
gonna do what Rin's gonna do. So Rin's definitely gonna try to feed a Goodberry to Merrick in hope.
You shove a good berry into the bearded human's mouth, and I think his eyes open as he's like, you must stop him.
But that's our plan. You stay here. Do not get involved in this fight again, unless you lose another
I think
hand.
he points at his sword, which has fallen to the ground next to him with his severed hand.
Yeah, Rin will reach for it to grab it.
Oh, holy shit. Okay, cool. Okay. Ren, you grab up this sword. You see an emerald in the hilt and the pommel. It is perfectly well balanced. It's incredible. Ren, that was your action. He's like all fucked up and not acting. The enemy will go. It is on Arnold.
25 and 17
Gosh,
will
the
both hit.
reckless
Yep.
attacks are rough. Yeah, the reckless attacks are rough. Okay, so that's 6 and 9. That's 15. You're going to take 7 points of damage from that, Arnold.
How you doing, Arnold?
Not great.
He's going to give you his last attack right here. He's not messing around. 26 also hits. Yeah, he's got to try to stop you. So that's another 6 points of damage right there. Okay, that's his action. For his bonus action, he like closes his eyes. The red light like vanishes for a second, and they open again. And there's like this terrifying kind of green cold rolling off of him. Arnold, I need you to make a wisdom saving throw. As this aura of fear
19.
washes over
Oh, thank
you,
God.
you are not
Thank
afraid.
God.
You will not be scared, Arnold. You will not be scared. Arnold, it's your turn.
Out of character. Kevin, you got any healing abilities or no?
I do.
Okay.
I saved the one because I'm just like,
Great.
it's either gonna smite or cure wounds. It's gonna be cure wounds. But I have to. Oh
Fantastic.
shit! I have to circle around, but it's fine.
Arnold is going to recklessly attack. He's going to continue the assault.
You don't have to
Oh, yeah,
recklessly
we're,
attack.
we're
Rin
flanking.
is there.
You're
Right.
flanked.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to try to
Great.
help you
Thank you.
as best I can.
Appreciate it. So we're flanking for 19, which will hit
Hits. Both hits.
for 12 points of damage. For 23 for 13 points of damage.
Okay, so for 13 and 12, that's going to be 25 altogether. What are you doing this round, Rin?
So yeah, Arnold's not looking great, right?
9 hit
Nope.
points.
Rin's gonna circle around to get beside Arnold so they could reach out to touch him because I believe Cure Wounds is a touch spell.
Indeed it is.
Great, and then we'll use their last spell slot to do Cure Wounds to Arnold.
Go for it.
Cure Wounds 1d8.
If you just
plus
click
that, right.
the name of the spell, it'll be 1d8 plus your charisma modifier. Yep.
Cool. Did it work? Oh, cast it. I can only cast it level 1.
Yeah, it'd be great if you get your dueling.
I
You,
wish.
Arnold, get 7 hit points back.
It's
Great.
something. And
Better
then
than
we'll circle back. So they are again flanking and standing also between Merrick and that person.
Oh,
Okay.
is there any world where Rin dropped that sword and gave it to Arnold?
Don't you have one?
I do, but this thing's called Star Killer. Is that not going to
Starblade.
yeah, that's fine. I just
Yeah.
we may be able to just like beast mode this thing. I don't know.
You're beast moding a lot of stuff right now. Arnold, you've been healed. That was Rin's turn. I think at this point, Merrick pulling himself together a little bit, he will like cry out to you like, you can do this, Arnold! And you will receive an additional 5 hit points back as he calls a healing word to you and just like drags himself back against the wall a little bit.
Yep.
That's his turn. The enemy goes. Okay, the enemy like as you like dart around him, Rin, it just like looks down at you like with like some kind of disdain almost. It's gonna throw a sword at you. It's gonna swing for you.
Thank God.
19
No.
does not hit, right?
No.
And so it'll wheel back at Arnold.
Hey, F off. Leave him. Oh, no.
Yeah, for a natural 20.
That is going to cost us.
Yep.
Arnold, he raises the sword. He swings wildly at you. It's actually not that wild. Okay, so 13 points of damage, which is reduced to 6. But Arnold, he cuts off your left arm
What?
Great. Okay.
at the wrist. Whoosh. Rin,
Oh, dear God.
Arnold is holding a greatsword, which he cannot use now. And so your sword lies on the floor at his feet. You could kick it over to him.
Yeah, I'm going to kick my sword over to him.
I'm going to give it to you as a reaction. You kick the sword across Arnold. There's a longsword at your feet. Ren's longsword sits at your feet. And so as he like,
I just
think
realized
for the
what that
first
guy's
time,
wielding, by the way.
at the first time, this thing just like chuckles a little bit. And then it wheels back at Ren as you like are interfering with this fight that he's not having. Bang! The sword deflecting off of your shield. That is his turn. Arnold, you're up on 21.
Sure. Emotionlessly, Arnold picks up this longsword that's been kicked his way and will stand up and will recklessly, or not recklessly because we're flanking, will attack this guy just relentlessly.
Recklessly. Yeah. Do you have a longsword on your sheet?
I do not have a longsword on my sheet.
Okay. I'm putting it on your sheet as we speak.
Mhm.
Rich.
It's at the very bottom of the list of things. Longsword.
Okay. Let's.
I'm so sorry, Josh.
That's okay. Let's do it. For 16, does not hit.
16 does not hit. Second attack.
19 does hit
19 hits. Roll damage.
for 10 points of damage.
Excellent. Rin's sword hammers into this dude for an additional 10 points of
How's it
damage.
looking?
Arnold,
Any sense?
bad. Yeah, now it looks pretty battered and banged up. Arnold, that was your action. Your like arm is laying on the ground next to your cool toy. Rin, you're up on 11.11. The Fun Forged only has one arm.
Yeah.
What would you like to do?
Rin's going to swing with this sword that they picked up and see what happens, I guess, and what it does.
Yeah, the emerald like flares in your hand. Go for it. Make an attack roll with advantage with the star blade.
Sweet. Also, I know what sword the enemy has, and that's mean.
Yeah, it's pretty mean.
Cool. Attack roll.
I put it right up at the top of your sheet. Yeah, it should.
Oh,
be
there it
there,
is. Yeah, I
think.
see it. Sweet.
That's a hit.
Yeah. I don't think it actually added my modifier too, so it's over 20, but that's fine. And then roll damage just.
Oh, it didn't add your charisma modifier. No, you have a bonus of like +3 to all
Correct.
your attack rolls for your charisma
It doesn't
modifier.
do it on its own, so I'll just do that
Mhm.
when I need to. Yeah. Cool. And then roll to damage.
Oof.
What happened there? Is the damage messed up?
I think it
not
did.
work? 1d10.
Because it's saying it did Wrathful Smite, but that is not.
That's really weird. Yeah, gosh, it's very weird. Okay, so what I want you to do is just roll 1d10.
Sweet. Okay.
Roll20's been getting wonky on me lately. Okay, so 5 plus 2 is 7, plus your strength is 10, plus your dueling style is 12 points of damage. Got it.
Wait.
Got it. At this point, it looks like badly hurt. Oops. Right, that should be where it is. Rin, that's your action, bonus action, anything else?
No bonus action I can do, except maybe shout encouragement. Arnold, end this thing when you can.
Affirmative.
Okay, Merrick is gonna go. At this point, I think that he like stumbles up to his feet, growling, and he proceeds to pull out from his belt this like long-bladed dagger, and he like staggers forward towards this fight as it's happening.
I'm a little nervous about that. Can Rin stop him or at least shield him? I don't even know.
Sure, you like try to shield him. He calls out another healing word for you, Arnold. Like, you must persevere. Which is just pathetic. Gonna be 4 health back, and yeah, he like just staggers up next to you, Rin, and stabs with this dagger. Oh, he does have a multi-attack. So he stabs twice with the dagger. 21 hits solidly as he like for like 6 points of damage. Right. Now it looks like badly effed up. The enemy goes. It's going to proceed to use its bonus action again first. I need Rin, you to make a wisdom saving throw, DC 13.
Excellent. I have advantages on all wisdom saving throws.
Oh, heck yeah. What's that from?
That is
just being a cool verdant?
Verdant telepathic insight. So I have advantage on all wisdom and charisma saving throws.
That's sick. Oh my god.
It's very lucky.
It wheels around and proceeds to like
18.
cut Merrick's arm off again. This is brutal. Merrick drops. 19 misses you though, right, Rin?
Yes.
Okay, and then it's going to throw its last attack at you, Arnold. So it's like spinning in this like wild arc, attacking for all of you. 25 hits you. That's 15 reduced to 7.
Thank God.
Arnold, you're up.
Arnold is going to stab forward with his newly acquainted with longsword. He's going to one-handedly, quite literally,
what a shit. 25 hits.
Stab out at this guy for 6 points of damage, and he's going to do it again. For a critical, for a natural.
Yes.
Okay, that's 8, 10 plus an additional 6 is 16 points of damage. That, Arnold, is your turn. This thing is like it's surrounded now by all this. Merrick is like back down. We'll put the X on him just to make the stress increase. Rin, you're up on 11.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
The Starblade, is it a longsword? That is, can it be wielded one-handed or two-handed?
Could be wielded two-handed, yeah.
And that would be a different die, right?
Yeah.
Right. Rin drops their shield, grabs the Starblade with both hands, and swings.
Okay, go for it. You're making an attack roll with advantage with the Starblade.
Oh, come on. 21.
21 hits. I would like for you to roll 2d6.
D6.
That's going to be 6 plus 3 plus 5 for your dueling plus another 2. That's going to be 13 points of damage. Ren, what does it look like?
Sweet. With the swing, it. Can I flourish this a little bit?
Yeah.
Right. Slices off its hand first off, then slices off its arm, and then spins to take off its head.
And as you do so, you hear a voice in your mind, Ren. It is not Arnold's. It is certainly not this enemy. As you cut the head off, you see this metal head. And the body, like, falls over this black adamantine enemy. Not human. Certainly not as human as Arnold. The metal head, like, rolling away, just kind of, like, falls into the void next to it. Merrick bleeds, and you hear a voice in your mind, like, grab him. Grab the man.
Grab
His arm, quickly. put his arm back to the shoulder.
Yeah. So Rin runs over to grab the hand and put it back.
And so as like you pull the arm over towards like his shoulder, the emerald at the base of the sword flares, and suddenly Merrick's like, his like eyes open.
Can I also do the same to Arnold?
You could certainly try. Merrick's eyes open, and he's like, and I think that the unfortunate circumstance here is that as he like goes to like pull himself up, like he shuffles a little bit, and his hand was cut from one side, his arm from the other. His hand is like bumped and falls into the void. Arnold, what's happening here?
Arnold is emotionlessly seeing that Rin has has Merrick handled. He would have reminded him once again, good berry, because now Rin has 4.
Just one by one, just shoving good berries in Merrick's mouth.
Arnold is going to pick up his greatsword and ka-chonk it back onto his back. Arnold is going to pick up his arm and ka-chonk it onto his back. So it's like both of these things just like magnetize and disappear into like his frame. And this enemy we just killed.
Are you going to pick up his sword? Because you should.
Arnold is going to pick up its sword. And
Arnold, I need you to roll a Constitution saving throw the second you touch the sword.
No.
16.
16's pretty good. It does 12 points of lightning damage.
Jesus.
16, you make your saving throw. You only take 6, but like the second you touch the thing, just turn to 6. The 12 becomes 6. Well,
because I have the rage and I made the Constitution throw. No.
You did make the Constitution save, so the 12 drops down to 6. But the question is, like, are you still raging? Sure, I'll give it to you.
It has
it's
a minute
to 3.
passed, I guess, is the question.
It's turned to 3. And I think that Merrick, though, is, like, gasping, and he's just like, don't! It's evil! It's desperately evil. You can't!
If I've grabbed it, have I grabbed it, or have I just touched it?
You touched
Got it. I think Arnold is going to recognize, whatever like instinctive, like physical thing that's going on with Arnold. Like, yeah, that hurt. Let's not do that. Do we
know where the void leads?
Did the fallen foe's head go into the void?
No.
It's still hanging around?
Oh, yeah. Did I say it did?
I think you
I
said
don't
it.
think it did.
I think you said it did, go into the void.
Okay.
The head fell into the void. The body is still here. I meant for it too, but I wasn't sure if I said it. But yeah, the body is still laying.
Arnold is both going to search the body and also behand the body. Although I think like one of the arms is gone, I think Arnold is going to grab that severed arm that Rin took and also ka-chonk it onto his body.
Okay.
Excellent.
So you got the arm off the thing. As you search the body, it's got like this kind of flowing cloth all like wrapped around it. As you're going over the rest of it, there is like this hand crossbow at its hip. That appears to be made of like mostly the same type of black metal as its body, rather than wood. There is make an investigation check with advantage.
It's gonna be tough. Very unintelligent
It's not
guy.
a great thing for you. 13. As you're like searching, it doesn't have a belt or any kind of like belt pouch or anything like that. But what it does have on one of its hands is this like plain black ring that's kind of like the same metal as it is that you could pull
Yeah,
off.
we're taking that.
And I think Merrick is like looking to you, Rin, and he's like, please help me up.
Rin definitely like helps him up as much as possible. Probably a pretty severe height difference, but definitely helps Merrick up and indicates toward the sword on the ground that's evil. And it's just like, what do we do with that?
We have to take it to Mount Doom and cast it into the fire. I think he just like laughs like, no, that's a joke from somewhere else. But we have to destroy it. I have to destroy it.
How can we help?
I mean, don't you want to go back? I think he looks at Arnold tentatively, and he's like, do you understand me?
Affirmative.
Do you remember me?
Affirmative.
What?
See, that's pretty wild, because I don't think that I've ever seen you before. I know I haven't. If I died here, I'm not sure you would be able to be here.
Affirmative.
It's very complicated. And I think he like looks back at you, Ren, like, I left word in the past to send you today. I see things. And he like taps the temple next to like the silver eye. He's like, sometimes they don't make sense, but sometimes I know exactly what they mean. If you want to help me, you can.
Well, one,
But
sorry we couldn't get here sooner. Really could have helped you, kept better hand of things. But you mentioned getting back. Is there a way back for us?
I think he like looks into the void like it's a real leap of faith type situation.
Through there.
And I think you hear a second voice that's familiar to you, Ren, and it rings from the sword itself. Arnold, you hear it as well as the sword like speaks out loud. The Starblade, not the like evil artifact on the ground, is just like it is the way back.
I see.
I can be sure you're sent. And I think Merrick is like, he has to go back, or everything goes to shit.
Arnold's
He's the one that finds the new dancing place, he says.
Arnold's just standing and just like, kind of like lifelessly, emotionlessly looking at both Rin and Merrick, giving no real sign of like agency or understanding. Well, maybe not understanding, but like you don't get anything from him. He's just looking at you both.
And so,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah. No, Merrick just like looks down at you, Ren, and he's like, I don't understand how, but somehow he has to help them find the new dancing place. We thought we knew what we were doing, but, well, we made too many mistakes. We have to do a better job this time. Otherwise, and he just kind of like gestures like,
So Rin looks at Arnold and like gestures towards the portal and is just like, Arnold, home, when pointing towards the portal.
And Arnold nods at Rin and says, affirmative. And I think Arnold just does as told and hops into the void.
Arnold leaps into the void, and I think Merrick turns like looking at you, Ren, and he's like, are you going with your friend?
Rin takes a moment and looks around at everything and the destruction and looks at the evil sword on the floor and says, us Verdant are curious creatures. And there's nothing more curious than all of this around here. What wondrous things might exist? Time and space. I think I'm going to stay for a while, actually. Seems that there's some work to do here.
I think like he's like looks down at the stump of his hand like into the portal and back at you, and there's just this like tear rolling down his cheek, like grime stained, blood soaked cheek, and he's like, well, damn, if I had a dozen of you, there might be some real hope, but I guess we'll just start with one. The thing is, though, this place changes you sometimes. It's changed me, that's for sure.
Well, thing about change doesn't always mean it's a bad thing, does it? Hopefully,
Hard.
we can get something from both ends here. I could do some work here while Arnold's back there, fixing, hopefully, make right what went wrong. Maybe make a better world for us here while we do the same.
Change isn't always bad. It's a lesson hard learned. All right, friend. We've got a long walk.
Well, maybe one day I'll get to see Glarendar again, but there was some people I wanted to say goodbye to. I want to figure out a way how to do that. Well, till then, let's get you back to camp. And Rin starts walking towards the camp, but I will say, as that happens, they pause for a moment, and their face starts grimacing. And when they look down at their hand is shaking really badly. And they say, oh, well, looks like that's starting. Well, that's interesting. I think you probably actually need to help me get to a medical facility, because this is about to hurt a lot for quite a little while. And the last thing you probably hear from Rin is starting screams of pain.
And so it is that I think that we see the small form of Rin next to the like hunched over one-handed human man next to them, as this man Merrick like lifts their arm underneath yours, Rin, like lifting you up, and the pair of you like stumbling along this like blasted road, right? And I think that that's where we fade to black, only to reopen for a moment as Arnold. You don't remember a lot of things that you've experienced, and whatever happened after leaping into that portal, you don't remember that either. But as your eyes open, you are on the road between Glarendar and Dad's farm. And I think that we see you there, one-armed, sword. Rin's sword is probably still with you. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, I think he took it. Yeah, I think it's like on his person now.
And I think as you like looking around, you see the silhouette of this figure in the darkness.
Well, I do think also like at this moment, like Arnold's like,
"Come on, we're ready to go. Let's go, Agatha. We're ready to." Wait a minute.
And like he's like looking around.
Where Agatha go? Where Rin? Where?
And he looks down.
Where Arnold Arm go?
Dude, I think you see
he's not
the
really
silhouette.
like in like deep pain, but he's just like,
what?
Confused. I love it.
And then like he like kind of like starts like patting himself a little
Finds
bit.
2 arms on him.
He's patting himself. He like he first like he plucks off the black ring. Goes,
What the ring?
and he like puts that like back onto his body. He reaches in. He like pulls off an arm. It's the enemy robot's arm.
This not Arnold Arm.
As he puts it back, and then he reaches in and then does retrieve his own arm. And as he's walking, I think he's like walking now, like sort of like like aimlessly, but like he knows where he's going, but is like distractedly like with his own arm, just like trying to like plug it back.
Yep.
What happened, Arnold Arm?
As he's just like sort of like muttering to himself as he's walking.
And so I think that you see the silhouette of this like large figure on the road in front of you, walking in kind of the same direction. This figure's taller and bigger than you are. And I think that, Kevin, you hear the like voice. This person
Yeah.
talking. What happened to
What happened to
Arnold?
Arnold?
Like, you hear all this.
Where Rin? Where Agatha? What happened?
And so, at hearing that, this figure I can describe is a large loxodon, elephantoid creature, has brown hair, brown eyes that are kind of like very serene, almost like a little squinty, and turns around to look at you and is just like, "Oh, hey, you're a machine man."
Arnold like jumps in the air, hearing the voice, looks around, and doesn't have to do like the big scan of the open area to find the source of the voice. He's immediately face to face with an elephantoid, humanoid elephant man, and Arnold goes,
Arnold, machine man. Affirmative.
as he's just like trying to like plug his arm back in.
Oh wow, this actually worked. You know, this is weird. Found these ancient texts about 53 years ago. Said I should be here, this place, this time. Mini Machine Man. I got to take some letters to Glarendar. You know where that is, Glarendar?
Arnold no Glarendar. Arnold got call Arnold Metal Man, not Machine Man. Arnold don't like machine. Friend name.
As he's just like trying like desperately to like plug his arm back in.
Oh yeah, I'm Naish. How's it going? This is super weird. We had a bet at the temple. 50 years. Show up here, letters. Didn't think it would actually happen. Looks like I lost the bet, huh?
Go to bed. Arnold show you bed. Come, Arnold show you Glarendar niche. We go. Come.
Yeah. Sounds good. Lead the way.
Niche. Hey, niche. Know how to put on arm.
Maybe. Let me take a look at that.
And I think that with that, the camera like lifts up behind the pair of this elephant man, the Loxodon, the one-armed Funforge, after his journey back to the future. And the camera lifts and lifts and lifts until there's naught but the black of the starry night sky, and we fade. And that is where we leave our adventures today.
Yeah, that's the podcast. That's where we call it. Hell yeah.
Was that good?
That was great.
Is that a good
I
podcast?
mean, I had a great time.
Okay, cool,
This is
cool,
awesome.
cool.
Absolutely incredible. Lots of super fun role play. Lots of danger. Just like pushing on, no stopping. We killed a gorilla creature. We destroyed a demon centaur.
Yes,
Like,
that was fantastic.
Yeah, you like nuked that guy. You nuked that guy.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be like a hairy fight, but you just nuked
we
him, man.
we
Unreal.
Steve Rogers and Buckied the other
Yes.
robot,
I
Iron
was
Man.
actually like, oh, this feels very like Iron Man and Cap and Bucky fight right here, which is really awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yes, I will say for anyone listening, as Sean just mentioned, I do have art from Naish already, which will be I'll drop
yeah, I
in the
think
channel
also
and all that.
probably like
Yeah.
to like just like clarify what just happened there at the end was that like relative Rin retirement?
Yeah. So basically, I am retiring Rin for a bit. I wish if you stuck to the credits, I would say I think there'd probably be that sign that comes up at the end that after everything is done, it's just
Yes.
like Rin will return. But at
Yes.
this particular date and time is going to be a while, I think. So yes, Rin is in the future for the foreseeable future, and I will be playing this new character, Naish Nautilus, who is a Loxodon cleric, who will be coming in and have a very different vibe, if you couldn't get that from Rin, personality-wise.
Dope. That's great.
Yep. I got the art up on the stream for anybody who's out here watching. If
thank
you want to
you.
go check it out, you could find it here at the end of the video. Naish is interesting. It's really fascinating, you guys, because today there was like a large conversation in the DM channel in our Discord of like, hey, how do we feel about character retirement? One of our players, Micah, was asking about it, and we started talking about it. Does it follow the death rules, this and that? And then separately, one of the other DMs asked, like, how do we feel about time travel stories? And I was like, all right, well, big spoilers for the podcast tonight, but I think I'm tackling both these issues head first. So yeah, I think that there's room to retire characters for any of the players in our Glaradar server. And if Rin's gonna be off screen for a little bit, Kevin wants to be able to play. So this is a very reasonable transition. I'm excited to meet Naish for a bit.
I'm very pumped.
This
I
was
think
cool.
it's got to be like a thoughtful thing. Let's talk it through.
It does.
Right?
Yes.
But this is
Yes.
something, Kevin, you've been talking through for a long time.
Yeah.
Kevin and I have been talking about it together for quite a time, right? And so that's, I think, the most important part for me to communicate to
Work
the
with the
players out
DMs.
there in Glarendar, right? Let's talk about
And
it.
I will say too, this has been a long conversation between me and Josh and Rich and three of us discussing stuff because it's interesting because I knew level 5 was also a big deal for Rin in general, and something really cool happens, and I've wanted to get to 5 for a while, and we had this idea, and it got me even more excited to be like, "Ooh, I want to get to 5," because something big happens. So I was like, I wanted something really cool to fit into that, and give a real cool narrative reason about what could come afterwards. So I wanted to figure out a way to do that, and talking to Josh, I was like, what if and also, Rin being based on Doctor Who was a big factor, and I was like, "What if we did time travel?" And so, I brought up the idea of what if we went, to where Arnold's from, and how could that work, and what would that mean? And if I leave Rin there, can I leave Rin for a while and have a different character that way I can play and kind of mess around with that? And we really did talk through about it for quite some time. It wasn't just a rash.
Oh yeah, this has been months in common.
And it's intersected with a lot of the conversations you and I have had about Arnold, and a lot of
Indeed.
the story that is surrounding that character, and some things I still have a lot that's very open about the character where he comes from. I certainly am very far from having all of the answers to that. I have big ideas for sure, but it's open to the point where I didn't know should it be classic Arnold in the future, or does is this helping to explain some of his memory gaps?
I thought it was a really fun choice, Josh. I had no idea what you were gonna do, and obviously there were a few little Easter eggs waiting for you in the future to kind of thread Arnold in his current form to what you were doing.
Right.
But I really loved that disconnect. It was almost you went back to the original firmware. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was really fun.
But worth noting that and pointed out early in the podcast, Arnold has deep recall. He sees a thing, it maps on. So we all just watched what he went through. He went through that. He didn't just he lost his arm for a reason. He may not remember what happened, and he's going to have a lot of questions for Agatha too. But somewhere in that processor, he knows exactly what just happened. He clocked all of that. So that may be important to dig into at some point, but also kind of figured well, if we're going into future Glarendar, it's going to be he can communicate with certain people. He does have his telepathy. He does trust people. If he knows that in the future, shit's gone bad, that's going to escalate things in a way that I don't know that we can carry that story weight right now. So he has that locked down at the moment, which I think makes sense for where we're at in the story.
And it's really fun and really cool, and it really builds again, especially with what the DMs are working towards through these bigger threads and bigger stories and how these things connect. I think it's really fun to set that stuff up. How is that going? The actions of the past are going to change the future. How does that affect the world around Rin, who's living there for a bit? And when Rin eventually comes back at some point in the future, what are they going to be like? How does that change stuff? It's really fun to
what
think
if you
about
just
that,
love
explore.
playing Naish though, and you don't want to trade in again?
It'll be really tough, I will say, because what I have in mind for Nation, especially, you can get a bit of the personality already, and I'm really excited to keep going with that. It's gonna be tough, but like, we'll see when we get there. I guess I firmly believe like I will bring Rin back because I just have like really cool ideas of what I want to do with that character and like what I wanted them to get to. So I think could be really fun. And yeah, and Naisha's gonna be a blast to play. I'm gonna try and do a little more like interacting in town now because I think this character might be able to do it a little bit better, and especially while on vacation. I can like do something in town for a second to talk to someone. But he's gonna be pretty fun. I'm really excited about a lot of this. It's really cool to be able to do this type of storytelling on this D&D and in this Discord and like with this podcast and everything.
Is he gonna be able to help Arnold with his arm?
That's a
Yeah, I mean,
good question.
I went ham because I was like,
Also,
I've been thinking about cutting off Arnold's arm since you were like, can I play a robot barbarian, Rich?
well,
And I was like,
I
yeah.
think Bull Flume's gonna be pissed that you beat him to it.
I know.
Arnold cannot
I'm
run
just
into
so
Bull
glad I
Flume
got.
before he puts his arm back on. In
Someone's
his
gonna have to
mind, he's
stitch
like,
it.
Bull Flume gonna take Arnold arm. I'll have to fix fast.
Is it Grandel? Is Grandel got to handle that because he's like the forge?
Listen, we got Orville, we got Ashrin, we got the crazy witch lady who just time traveled you, by the way.
Yeah.
Arnold himself has Tinker's tools. I don't even know what's going on with the Elephant Priest. There's a whole array of madcap, zany characters,
let's leave
more
it
than
as,
willing
like,
to reattach
You know what? I think sometimes
Arnold's
it's
arm.
fun to not explain the story, and so
Me
like,
too. Me too.
Arnold gets his arm back, and I think we are left to like maybe
out
know
how.
how that happened.
Arnold like showed up for his mission to Thay with his 5 new companions with 2 perfectly functional arms, and that's the end of that story.
Which,
you know.
by the way, Rich, just to confirm, that's a goddamn evil Vorpal sword, isn't it?
No, a Vorpal sword would have cut his
Okay.
head off and just killed you guys.
I
like,
thought
explicitly.
because like when
It's a sword of sharpness.
Okay.
It was a sword of sharpness.
when you
so-
rolled the nat 20 and like a limb came off, I was like, because like I know Vorpal sword does head, but it's like if you can't cut off its head if it's too big, then
Yeah.
it like
The
limbs. and I was
sword of
like,
sharpness is
wait.
a classic Dungeons and Dragons item. Back in the day, it used to be on an 18, 19, or 20. There were different things, but on a 20, like you would cut a limb off, and a Vorpal sword,
heads off.
taken from
Yeah.
Kevin and I's favorite Alice in Wonderland, the Vorpal sword just on a 20 cuts your head off. That's like we're not there yet. Maybe when you guys are like 12th or 14th level, I'll start breaking out like artifact Vorpal swords. But yeah, the sword of sharpness, I knew it was coming. It's one of my favorite D&D items. It's so dramatic. We all love Star Wars to some extent or another, right? So like, yeah, you got to cut the robot's arm off
Yeah.
at some
Oh,
point.
yeah.
It's, I'm really glad that the dice like allowed that moment tonight.
I loved it.
Several limbs came off, which is crazy.
I loved it. I loved
know.
it. It was great, and I think it was kind of perfect for like Arnold to like snap back into reality with like,
Where my arm?
I think it's like sort of like that would be his reaction.
That was chef's kiss, Josh. That was phenomenal when Arnold came
Yeah,
back.
it was
and
really
just like,
perfect.
what's happening?
But so I think
was
like
really
we've got a
perfect.
lot so it sounds like we're barreling towards some potentially terrifying stuff if we can't fix it, and also like there are evil Warforged out there. That's
Yeah.
scary. So
Oh yeah.
we're
People Warforged
Yeah.
with like basically 4 attacks.
yeah.
Or-
Was that too on the nose, or was that cool? The evil
Love it.
Warforged
Loved
with
it.
4
Loved it,
attacks
yeah.
and a sword of
Yeah,
sharpness.
this is
okay.
great.
Yeah,
This is
that was
fantastic.
fantastic.
General
I-
Grievance at your leisure.
It is
Yeah.
the enemy General Grievance. I also
It's so funny.
really like the. I was like, I wonder if this is gonna happen because there's nothing more poetic than like getting a cool weapon that I knew I'm not gonna be able to use because I'm
Mhm.
retiring the character for a bit. I'm like, cool.
It's great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that like in the coda after like
There was
Rin-
definitely a
Rin
part of
will
Josh where he was
return.
like, "Hey, Kevin, you want to give me that sword?"
And I was like,
Yeah.
Josh, you have enough.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but you're staying here. You just wanted that to go to waste.
I do think there's like a point during like the post-credit scene where we see the like Rin will return, and then we hear the voice of like the human Merrick like, listen, you got to give me that sword back now,
Yeah, of
pal.
course.
You know?
And Rin would.
Of course
Like,
they
yeah.
would. Of course they
The
would.
moment
you know?
Rin's hand, like they're able to like fix up Merrick as best as possible, get his hand attached, Rin would immediately hand the sword over. Like honestly,
Yeah.
that's the thing too. Like even if Merrick got back up and was just like, "Oh, I can still fight," and they had health, Rin would be like, "Here's your sword back," you know.
I know. Rin's great. Paladins are great like that. This was a lot of fun, you guys. I really like it. Seems like you guys
I
enjoyed
loved
it,
it.
but I was
I
like
thought it was great. I
nervous
hope-
when we started. Like, I hope I'm not going to go too hard. And then you just kicked the snot out of the first demon, and I was like,
That's
oh, yeah,
like
this is fine.
three nat 20s in a row was just ridiculous.
It was lovely. It was absolutely.
I've been thinking about this adventure for quite a long time, too. We hit, 85% of the beats I wanted. I'm really happy.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this a
Yeah,
lot.
it was
Yeah.
perfect.
Cool.
Hope you
This was
guys enjoyed it
fantastic.
too. It'd been a minute since we had done the podcast proper. I think a fun return to form, and I think we've got like a pretty fun idea for what's on deck too. So
We sure do.
yeah, so when we get there, I think that's gonna be great. So stay tuned to that. Big things are happening in Glarendar right now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I don't know if I'll have to do this in the chat. I'm not too sure if Adam and Troy are here, but I could do it in the Discord. But I have a fun thing for that.
Cool.
Okay.
If people are listening to this and they're not in the Post Show Recaps Patreon Discord where you can play Dungeons and Dragons, it's never too late. You can certainly do it. Patreon.com/Post Show Recaps. Hit that $10 a month to get
Indeed.
the Discord. You get to play D&D with Kevin as an Elephant Man and so many other different characters. Super, super fun times. It's far from too late for you to get in on the action.
I'm always hyping it up over here for anybody that's wandered into Twitch TV /DM Philly. Go check out the Patreon for post show recaps. It's an incredible community that has transitioned from a community where we talk about TV to a community where we play D&D and think about.
Yeah,
TV.
we're talking
So,
about stories. We're building stories. It's great.
It's very cool.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Super fun.
Yeah.
It's
very
As
cool.
far as the podcast
Awesome.
goes, I think that's where we'll call it. But we're streaming this live, so Rich, you keep the party going as long as you want. But podcast wise, that's going to do it. We'll be back with another Triple D at some point, not in the terribly distant future. I should use
future?
that word very carefully. Just the future. You want to at least 3, maybe down here. Few chairs. We'll be back at some point.
Cheers.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, we should still talk. I just thought that we should probably close
yeah,
the
actually.
podcast.
I stopped my audio, by the way.
Oh, that's fine. You're great.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I shall stop
Yeah.
my audio. That was
great.
pretty exciting.
Oh, that was super
That was
fun.
pretty exciting.
That
Yeah,
was
that was a
incredible.
lot of fun.
That's great.
That was such a blast.
This was like a
Good.
big thing that you've been hyped about for a long time, Kevin. So I'm glad that.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do this for a bit, as we said, and it was fun to get here and actually pull it off. And I really wanted to get it done before my vacation, as you
Uh-huh.
know, because I'm
You guys
I'm
talk
not
about
going
we
to play
did.
for
real quick. I'll be back.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to play for 4 weeks, and I was so close to 5, and I knew I wanted to do this at this point, and I was just blitzing stuff to the point of just I gotta get in these sessions before
I know.
And
Yeah.
so-
I mean, I ran that session for you
Yes.
last week. I had a couple people ask, oh, whatever. And it was look, I'm trying to power level Kevin for a podcast. We got it. It worked out great. I'm just glad that everything hit tonight. The beats landed well.
Yes.
Everything played good. You guys were so great at the beginning. All the open role playing of Ren and Arnold made me really happy. I loved connecting that through line back to you two raised the Warden's Hold. You two have now seen the Warden's Hold destroyed. It was all cool. And I know you it was funny because we talked about it at the beginning that you infamously do not listen to the
Correct.
podcast. But the whole first episode was this guy Merrick showing up with the silver hand and his silver eye. And his name wasn't mentioned, but and him pulling Arnold out of the stasis chamber and fucking Arnold, you have to go back.
That's
you know?
awesome. I
And
love
so,
that. I love that.
It's all really cool. As soon as you mentioned this idea, it was immediately to me oh hell yeah, dude. I'm waiting for an excuse to send Arnold back to the future, of course, let's do it. So yeah, it was fun. I'm glad it worked
Yeah,
out.
same here. And just the little stuff I planned. I'm so pumped to play Nash for a bit, and I'm coming in at level 1, with him, so it'll be really interesting to go from where I am
Important
down to a
note.
level 1.
Yep.
But it'll be fun, and I think it'll create some fun stories that I could do there. And then at a certain point, I'm just all right, we'll discuss that, and I think it'll be a longer, another conversation to be when's the best time and how's the best time.
Yeah.
To
No, I'm
bring
with
it
you.
back if I do.
Or maybe never.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, I see a world where who knows? There's all kinds of things. I don't want to get the cart in front of the horse, but there's a lot of D&D happening out there in the world. These characters don't need to end because they're like wrap their time up in Glarendon.
The actor who played Rin got a great offer to join a CBS cop show that they couldn't turn down. So, but if that show gets canceled, Rin could come back. You know?
Right. That's what's happening right now. Is like, yeah, Rin's filming this backdoor pilot to something else, and we'll see how it goes. And then if that gets canceled, yeah,
pretty much.
Listen, I got a crew of players wandering around through space. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying. You know, there's a conduit anywhere right there.
Rin in space.
Is he a time wizard?
Rin obviously would love to be going through space and time. I think that fits exactly into what's originating that character as. So yeah. Mm-hmm. And that was a big reason to do the time travel too, where I was just like, I mean, if I'm basing a character after Doctor, I have to do time travel.
Yeah.
Tom is in the chat asking, but the Loxodons are actually, I believe they originally appeared in Spelljammer. They like first came up as like an old school second edition, like weird space race, you know. There's a lot of like weird space races, but they loved it. They're hippo people, they're elephant people. There's all kinds of crazy anthropomorphic animals in space, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's not a time wizard, though. Nesh is not a time wizard.
Nope. Keep some secrets. Yeah.
Are you revealing anything about what he's all about yet, or no? Other than he's a cleric.
I'll say he's a cleric. I think once I'm able to play a session, or in the PvP town.
Is he taking Rin's levels?
No.
Yeah. Starting from scratch.
Another big reason why I'm like Rin's gonna come back eventually.
Yeah.
Because I'm starting at 1, which will be really
that's awesome.
Fun to do.
Yeah.
And I got to be careful because my mentality is also like he's very different from Rin for many reasons, but Rin is a frontline fighter and a level 1 cleric is not. So it's going to be fun to be like, don't run into battle, you're going to get murdered.
Yeah. Yeah. Tom, no, at least I don't think so. That Nash was from the future. No, at the end, Arnold came back. He's like back in Glarendar, and he's walking home to Glarendar, and he runs into this elephant man on the road who said, 53 years ago, we got a note telling me to be here in this exact moment. And we all took bets that, like, would you be here? Would it make sense or not? And it turns out it worked.
Yep.
So there's a time travel component, apparently, to the character, but not.
He isn't a time travel component, but it's very. I mean, I'll just say the scene is basically the end of Back to the Future 2, right? Like Doc is gone and the guy shows up. Not the kids part, right? Yeah, that's the first one, and it's like not UPS, but it was a Western Union dude shows up, and it's just like, oh yeah, we had a letter from like 100 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
Said to be here at this time.
Yeah. I freaking love it.
Like, Rich, my favorite movie. Yeah. I was like, I gotta get this in here. I gotta do a thing like this.
It was so perfect. As soon as you said that beat, I was like, yeah, dude, it's perfect, right? Because this is like part of the stuff I was already playing with, this notion of like these little time capsules, Very, very, very cool. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, I had fun with this one.
Yeah, yep. It's great.
This was good.
It's great.
Yeah, it was a blast, and thank you for doing this too. I appreciate one.
Oh no, forget it.
Obviously, Josh agreeing to do this with me, I thought was really good.
Thank him.
No, I think doing it in like sort of just like a focused setting. And it was another thing where I felt like Arnold shut up, let Rin like have like a big story here. Felt like the right thing to do.
Arnold's was great.
I loved how it played out. I mean, I thought it was great. And it helps also that you and I have known each other so long. Yeah. So it helps like at the beginning we were able to like bounce off each other really well.
Yeah.
That was great, by the way. That's like one of my favorite spaces to exist in as a DM is like the players are talking to each other in character, and I'm going to shut the hell up for 40 minutes for half an hour. Like, I love that. There's like so much joy to me there as like a player when I play. Like, I want that. I want to like sit there and just talk in character a little bit because it like helps. It like deepens that whole perspective. I don't know. I loved it. It was a great, really great
think what's also fun is like it had been so long since they'd seen each other and they just like sort of like immediately were able to like snap into like an unspoken rhythm because like I think that they have a lot in common. And so, but it had been so long, and then Arnold is like kind of like a shiny object guy, literally, because he's a machine. And he's made of metal, but like he just follows the balloon. So like he's now like he's going to be a little less focused on like where's Rin and more on like how do I get my arm back on Elephant Man. And so like I think like he'll be good there. I don't know how either of you plan on handling like how does news of Rin's departure come out.
There is, I mean, that's what I was asking if Adam and Troy were here, because they will see, like, when Nash mentioned there's that he had 2 letters, that will be addressed, I think, in the Discord. And that could help disseminate a little bit of information. There's not a ton that will be in there, but I think that could at least do it. But, yeah, certainly I don't think it's going to be super, super easy public knowledge, because, like, Arnold won't necessarily remember like immediately, right, and like know the details of it. And so it's gonna be fun though, because like again, like this is why like part of me is just like I gotta bring Rin back, because I have a moment in my head that I think could be really cool, but we'll get there when we get there. That's the future.
Yeah.
Or is it the past?
You never know what the future holds.
It's
hard to say.
Hard to know.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I had to pull back all my Wheel of Time references. Anyway, it's like 1 a.m. I didn't expect to go this late. Thank you guys for pushing it back so we could do the Warden's Moot. I'm glad that the scheduling worked out.
Yeah, I hope for some people at least that it was like a fun double feature to go.
I think it was. There were people hanging out all night.
Yeah. Thanks for people for hanging out. Thanks for listening in, and thanks Rich especially for running this. I knew it was very tricky, because I was like, I'm gonna hit the rules as best as I can here, because I know what the rules are, but I want to see if this could work. And I really appreciate you talking through it with me, figuring it out how we could do this, because I was really excited to do it, and like I'm glad that I was able to, and you were able to work something out and make this happen. I thank you so much for that.
It's a delight, and I know this isn't on the podcast. I probably should have said it there, but like it's one of these things where, again, I love having this podcast as like the side component, like the Glarendar game and this being tethered, but also like sort of separate things, because there's more like control here. When you're in a home game playing D&D, like in the Discord, I'm always talking about the rules and the rules and the rules, and we got to stick to the rules, because there's so many of us, and it's a community thing, and there needs to be like parity. Fairness matters. Like we're going to take the standard array. I want to teach you the way like D&D is by the book, so you can go find your own home games and like break the snot out of the rules, do whatever you want, right? So being able to like take this kind of like half step out of that venue where we have all these people and like we get to play around a little bit more. Let's like, oh yeah, you want to use your reaction and like kick the sword across the battlefield. You want to like, use your telepathy to like amplify stuff. Like, yeah, this is a big thing in City of Mist, Kevin. Like, think cinematic, right? You want to paint like these wild big pictures and like intensity and drama and like big swings. And so I love being able to do that here, right? And like on my channel, on the podcast, all of that stuff. It's like that's a joy for me. That's where like D&D really sings, is when you know the rules like well enough to start to break the rules, you know, and you know why you're breaking what rules. Like that's different than like whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's like writing for me, right? Like I always talk about the fact that it's so important to actually know the basics of writing, not in the sense of like it's important to know the 3 act structure. It's important to know how to tell a story through the usual beats of inciting incident and everything else, because in order to like properly break the rules and really do something that I think can like stand out, you need to first know how to do it. You need to know the rules before you can truly break them and understand how to functionally do that. That's why like for me, I try to encourage, like, if you're coming into the world of writing, like, you may think you know the 3 act structure, but write a story with it. Like, follow all the rules, do it first, then break it, then do something different. Like, it's so important to know those pieces.
I mean, it's this way in like all kinds of disciplines, right? But especially in fiction and anything like that. Like, yeah, you have to know what the rules are to understand why you break them when, and the specificity of like the intention behind the actions, right? The reason, like, why this rule exists, why it like works, and why you're going to throw it out the window this time because it's not relevant to this exercise, right? So that's like a big part of like where I'm always coming from. But anyway, nevertheless, I could sit here and talk to you guys all night, and I don't want to rush you off, but it's late, and
this is so
I'm sure
great.
We all got Final Fantasy to play.
And I got to eat my dinner, and I'm going to do this thing in the Discord.
I have to I have to read what the heck is going on in the PvP.
You and me both, Josh. Like, do me a favor. Just take a breath. This is gonna be
I'm
okay.
not hopping
This
right
too
into it. I
will be
can't.
okay.
Like a lot.
Don't.
A lot happened
Don't.
here. I'll catch back
Yeah.
up. I'll read it. And we'll
But don't
make-
forget, Josh, we did survive this, and it looked dicey for a moment. So.
It got scary, right? Did you guys get scared
It
tonight?
got
Did I
dicey.
scare you like pretty good?
That
You were
ending
scared,
fight, I
right?
was
Yeah.
like, oh
Terrible.
shit. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Once
good,
limbs are
good.
coming off, I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah. The 20s. It is terrifying for me because I can design as well as I want, but if the dice go, like
Mhm.
I can only control so much. So.
Oh yeah.
anyway.
Also, Rich, I think I mentioned this, but you can transfer over Naisha's character sheet to the
Yes.
main.
I will to the real game.
Yeah.
Yes, I will.
Sweet.
Okay, cool.
This is great.
Awesome. Thanks again, everyone, for listening. Thanks to you guys. Thanks
Yeah.
for running. Thanks, Josh, for
Rich.
playing. And
Marvelous.
yeah.
Heck yeah, all you guys hanging out here in the chat. If any of you are like watching this or
incredible.
not part of post show recaps, like go sign up. These guys are the best. It's a great community. We have an awesome thing happening. Thank you to our friends from post show recaps who came and hung out tonight. I hope we get to do this again. And yeah, thank you to you gentlemen for like allowing me to stream this here. I really appreciate it.
Oh my god,
It's a big
this is
difference
great.
for
I love
me.
I
man.
love
It's a joy.
doing Triple D live on the Twitch. I'm happy to do this more often, Rich. This is fun.
Okay,
Fun way
cool.
of doing it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Agreed. Okay, with that, good night, gentlemen.
Bye.